If you could one day travel to another world, you could become the son of a high-ranking official who cares about his people or a noble warrior calmly sipping wine. And if not, then not another. You could simply become the dull-witted son of a landowner. But there is another possibility, to become a newly minted mentor. The young monk does not understand where his hair has gone. Mount Tor Songshan has 36 peaks, among them Shaomu, the highest. It is easy to defend and hard to attack, so it is a good place to build a sect. On Mount Shaomu are 3 martial arts sects, namely Zhongyue in Dongshan, the Daoan Temple in Nanshan, and the Shaolin Temple at the very top. The Zhongyue sect is a Taoist sect with a good reputation, many disciplines. Industry-wise, it can be said to be the largest sect in Songshan. The Daoan Temple is one of the oldest monasteries, although its reputation is not as good as Zhongyue's. They say that is all in the past. Although the Shaolin Temple is at the top of this mountain, it is the worst. In the huge Shaolin Temple, there is only 1 monk and 3 disciples. At night on the mountaintop, the Shaolin Temple monk sadly but calmly announced that he would die that night. His disciples immediately cried out in confusion. The old man felt and understood during meditation that the situation had calmed down, so he asks the youth not to panic. There is still a little time left, so he wants to explain the consequences, and one of his disciples tells the master that now is not the time for jokes. The master tells the tearful Qingyu that he has a pure heart, and only he is obsessed with martial arts, and nothing else interests him. The old man asks him to remain as he was after death. The second disciple thinks that if the master is not joking about his death, for the good of the Shaolin Temple he will choose the next abbot of the monastery. In his opinion, no one but him can be the Shaolin abbot. The monk tremblingly tells Kong that there is a verse in the Diamond Sutra. All facets are lies. If a young man sees a facet that is not a facet, then he will see the Tathagata. But if he becomes too obsessed with the external phase, it will confuse him. The guy thanked the master for the instructions. The old man tells Jia that he was the smartest since childhood and truly inherited his kung fu, so he will pass the position of temple abbot to him. After such words, Kong was no less shocked than the heir. With his last strength, the master handed his prayer beads to the tearful Jia, while Kong shouted and objected that he could not do that. The monk made the most correct decision, and for his own good, he asks the disciples not to get involved in trouble. A lustful guy in the city watches a girl standing behind the door. He considers himself a majestic student of University X. He is handsome and smart, has gone through many hardships, and overcome various obstacles to get this charming beauty. The young man, clutching a juice pack, shouts, "My virgin days will finally come to an end." The pretty girl only greets Yuan Zhen after the shower. The student blushes like an animal and opens his mouth at the sight of such beauty. He jumps on her and says that he is a monster who is going to eat her. But not reaching the bed, the young man evaporates and only hair remains from him. At such a sight, the girl naturally squealed throughout the neighborhood. A Yuan Zhen is transported to the Shaolin Temple and does not understand what is happening. Konggu tells the second younger brother that now, since the master has passed away, they should get down to business. Their sect is small, but they still need a leader. After the analysis conducted by Yuan, he realized, "I am a transmigrant." Touching his head, the young man was shocked that his thick hair was gone. He definitely did not expect to be transported at such a critical moment, especially since others become relatives of emperors, aristocrats, or wealthy businessmen. So the reincarnated one does not understand how he can be a poor young monk whose master just died. Suddenly, the boy notices some kind of picture in front of him. Ding! The temple abbot system is activated. Yuan Zhen is amazed by this miracle. The young man received tasks. The first, make achievements in the boy's skills. The second, make the Shaolin Temple the largest martial arts sect. The third, make the temple abbot and Ji the leaders of the world's martial arts. The boy is happy because this flying mirror gives money for completion. An unknown voice replies, "Yes, dear owner. During the completion of the tasks, the system will be configured to sincerely serve you." Yuan hugs the plaque and asks the system to return him back to finish what he started. The newly minted monk wants to get some information about this world. The system says that the folk customs resemble the ancient times of the country where the master lived, since there are courts and martial arts. Also, there are few people in the market here who live busy lives in peace and stability. In short, only the strong can make it here. The young man thinks that if he can return to Earth, it would be better for him to stay here with 3 wives and 4 concubines. A voice from the system calls him an idiot and warns that if one of the tasks is failed, the owner will be killed immediately. Yuan Zhen is glad that he had the sense not to dive straight into vulgarity. The guy suggests making a deal and asks to replace his first task with something else, since he does not want to practice the boy's skills. Kongu calls his younger comrade. Ji says that the master appointed him as the next abbot of the temple and there is nothing to discuss here. The monk remembers that while the owner of the Xuanming temple was alive, he left his post to the second disciple and Jia. The elder hated him. Back then he could not object because he respected Master Xuanming. But now, with the elder dead, the elder will not wait a minute. And Qin, meanwhile, sits completely broken next to the body of the dead master and weeps. Kongu thinks that among the three of them it would be fairer to choose someone else. The reborn sees that the comrade is determined to gain power. Even when Xuanming died, not a single muscle twitched on his face. It seems that the struggle for the position of abbot of the temple is inevitable. Kongu had a chance to become the next abbot of the temple. This was said in the previous arrangement. The guy mutters to himself, "It's a pity that the prescription no longer makes sense. Accordingly, your plans are useless." He asks the elder why he thinks the master's decision was wrong. Kongu says that the youth does not watch his tongue and words, is foolish, rapes and steals, and also does not know the Dharma. The heir of the temple looks sternly at his comrade and asks, "Can I really not be the abbot of the temple?" The senior monk trembles from the sudden aura of Jia. He feels as if he is looking at an enraged King Kong. The monk, shrouded in fear, clearly hears from the heir of the temple. "If the elder brother is so good at Dharma, then tell me, who is the father of Buddha?" Kongu is puzzled by his words. The young man says that Buddha has no father. Suddenly, Ji's aura becomes even stronger and says that Buddha's father was King Tsilfan, the king of Kapilava, and the comrade does not even know the basics. He justifies himself and asks to be asked something else. In that case, the newly appointed abbot of the temple asks to name Buddha's mother. He hears the uncertain voice of the comrade. It is Mrs. Maya, the wife of King Tsilfan. Burning with Jia's fire, he says that this is incorrect. Kongu does not understand, but it turns out that Tsilfan's wife was only his biological mother. He was swallowed by a peacock, but soon escaped from its body. Later, he took the bird in Linshan, honoring it as his own mother. Ji gives him one last chance and says he will ask the following. "Between us, who is more suitable for the position of abbot of the temple?" Trembling with fear, the elder comrade says that it should be Jia. The chosen one says that this is again incorrect, and Kongu, holding his head, does not understand why it is wrong again, and whether Buddha thinks otherwise. The young man says that for Buddha all people are equal, and only they themselves can realize who is suitable for this. Kongu simply remains silent and does not know how to respond to this. Ji sees Buddha before him and sees the advantage of the system. The abbot is glad that the elder brother has finally detached from him, and now he has time to look at the advantages of the system. As in his previous life, this lottery system is like a wheel of fortune. The cell the pointer points to will become his reward. The lottery system was activated and rewards will be given once a month. Here are 36 cells, 6 of which are books with secrets of martial arts. Martial arts secrets, Fuhu fist, footwork in the blooming plum column, iron head technique, light body technique, hand strength, and sutra on bone marrow. Sacred scriptures, Lotus Sutra, Great Peacock Sutra, Sutra of Power, Kshitigarbha Sutra, Bangjia Sutra, Mingguang Sutra. They also contained Buddhist artifacts, divided bag, meditation stick, prayer beads, prayer wheel drum, incense burner, and large tripod. Construction books, Order for building the bell tower, Order for building mountain gates, Order for building the heavenly temple, Order for building Shaolin wooden soldiers, Order for building the Dharma hall, and Order for building the Tibetan Sutra pavilion. Lian, 1 silver lian, 10 silver lian, 50 silver lian, 100 silver lian, 1 gold leaf, and 1 gold ingot. Miscellaneous items, ring knife, pen, kerosene lamp, horse, eagle, and 3 light points in the shape of pills. All these 36 cells, secret martial arts books, scriptures, Buddhist artifacts, construction books, lian, and various trifles are chosen randomly by the system. The monk realized that, in other words, they will become different items in the next draw. The system confirms this, but there is one nuance here. Talent is useless meditation. If the player has no obstacles and fear on the path, he will achieve nothing. And also in the game there is no right or wrong and all things go their own way. Among the 6 martial arts secrets, the Sutra on Bone Marrow is the most advanced and energetic. Hand strength is intermediate, and all the others are low-level books. The higher the level of martial arts, the less the need for them. He notices that the knowledge in the construction books is only superficial, and therefore he wonders, will I be able to build my temple? This system is very interesting, and with such prizes he will be able to reach his goal even faster. The young man imagines how everyone will respect him. The abbot, unable to hold back, says he cannot wait any longer, so he presses somewhere on the panel with a shout. He was even hit in the head after that. He says that scriptures are no longer needed, although they are necessary for Buddhists. The Shaolin temple is too poor now, so the young man wants to leave them for later. Most of the goods in this draw are useless, except for one, and only the biggest prize in this roulette flashes in his eye. 3 light points. Even though he fails at everything, he still understands that according to the law of luck and rewarding newcomers, he can get a prize of medium or higher level. The guy sees the wheel in front of him slow down and right now before him. Banja Sutra. 50 silver taels. Large tripod. Order to build mountain gates. Iron head technique. And hand strength. Banjia Sutra is not particularly useful for the Shaolin temple. There is too little silver. The large tripod is not as good as the mountain gate construction token. And hand strength and iron head technique are not needed by any monk, since these are basic martial arts. Having won the iron head technique, he realizes that to become the leader of the martial arts league, this is not enough. Although this technique is a basic martial arts course, a lot of hard work is required to master it. If the abbot wants to learn this technique, he will have to fight against stones. The iron head technique is a kind of physical and internal strength. It uses physical power to strengthen muscles and bones, as well as internal strength contained in the human spirit, to complement each other and achieve success. If this technique is properly developed, the head will become stronger than any stone, which will shatter into small pieces. Holding his bald head, the young man says that the martial arts secrets provided by the system are very convenient. Right now he has not only learned the technique, but also reached the highest level in this field. But in reality, he is very confused. Until the need arises, he will not reveal this secret to anyone, because first he needs to learn to control others. After use, the magical power of this book disappeared, and now it has turned into an ordinary collection with blank pages. In that case, the abbot will not be able to quickly create a group of martial arts masters, because the system may not count it. The guy, rubbing his eye, tells the abbot's brother that it's time to prepare. The abbot, stretching, replies that it is still too early. The second brother breaks a stone over his head, and the abbot looks at him with admiration. The young man knew this would impress, since the abbot was truly an idiot, completely clueless about martial arts. The monk says that this is the iron head technique, and if the brother listens to him, he will also learn it in the future. The abbot says that now he is a different person, and can no longer cook. Qing Yi does not understand what to do now. The leader says that now the youth is responsible for fetching water from the mountains, and the elder brother for cooking. After Qing brings water, the abbot says he will teach him the iron head technique in 10 days. The brother thanks him for his kindness. Joyfully and skipping, the boy ran to get water, and the abbot considers him simply a carefree child. 2 days later, after burying the old monk, for the future of the Shaolin temple, the abbot decided to descend to the foot of the mountain and look around. For the last 2 days, the boy had eaten only steamed buns and vegetables, and now his stomach hurt terribly. When the old monk was alive, they helped people for money, but now that he is gone, they have to manage on their own. But this will be very easy, because Shaolin will start recruiting disciples, and by increasing their reputation they will be able to earn more. In the past, when Shaolin trained disciples, they worried about their future life. Only a few people joined the temple. However, very few people can endure such living conditions. To recruit disciples, first one should become famous or offer excellent conditions. Otherwise, with so many different sects recruiting disciples, no one will come to their mountains if there are better places. The young man noticed the little shepherdess, as she exists in the memory of the previous owner of this body. Some scoundrels pushed Lin Ru to the ground and force her to sing another song. The man says that it is better for her to play with them now. The girl's dog barks and jumps at the offender, trying to protect its owner. However, the man cruelly hits the animal in the stomach. Lin Ru screams in horror, "Xiao Hei!" And the second offender smirks and says to her, "Look what happens when people don't obey us." The offenders grab her and tell her to obey. And the shepherdess, out of despair, says she is ready to sing. But behind them, someone's silhouette appears. An unknown person hits one of them in the face, and from the force of the blow, a bloody tooth flies out of his mouth. Yiji considers this a pitiful sight, as 2 adult men try to assert themselves at the expense of a weak girl. Linru does not understand why the monk is here. The shepherdess says that he must run urgently, because they are young guys from the village, and he is no match for them. The youth understood. She thinks he is weak. The man, wiping blood from his nose, calls the monk a shameless bald donkey. His comrade asks not to anger them, otherwise he will twist his head off and go play football with it. The guy with teeth like a hare laughs at the monk because of his appearance. The abbot hits him in the stomach with his head and says to taste his blow, after which the bandit with a broken nose jumps on him and says the same thing, and the monk does not even worry, because his opponent shouts before attacking. The Shaolin follower sees that this guy has strong boxing technique and an unusual aura. So with his weak aura, even with the Iron Head technique, it will be difficult to defeat him. He thinks that Lin Ru is the girlfriend of the previous owner of this body, so he cannot show his weaknesses in front of her. The scoundrel punches directly at the stone head of the monk, and as a result after the blow he grabs his broken arm because the abbot used the Iron Head technique. And Jia continues to beat him already on the ground, and the shepherdess suddenly noticed that her second offender ran away into the forest leaving his comrade. The monk tells the maimed young man that now he too can go. At the end, he says that his elder brother is a disciple of the Chungyue sect, and he will avenge him when he arrives. And the abbot sadly notes that this is a classic plot twist in ordinary fantasy novels. Lin Ru does not understand why the monk is so reckless. She does not know what she would do if he were beaten because of her. A Shaolin follower says that in the online game, he died more than 100 times without even blinking. The girl giggles and says, "Who died hundreds of times? Are you bragging about something again?" The shepherdess heard that Yi Jie called himself an abbot, but such things cannot be said, because if his master finds out, he will punish him. The monk tells his friend that before her stands a real abbot. Lin Ru asks him where his mentor has gone, and the abbot says that his master has gone to the blissful paradise. The girl cries and says that Master Xuanming was a wonderful person. Yi Ji immediately went into a stupor upon seeing the crying Lin Ru. The monk asks her not to cry, since the mentor has gone on a well-deserved vacation. She apologizes and says that she cannot control her tears. The shepherdess gives him an apple and says that she picked it earlier and he can eat it. The abbot considers her a very sweet girl, and since such a merciful sister is his friend, he must return to vulgarity. Under Mount Shioshi there are several villages and small towns, but among these towns there is the largest prosperous city, the city of Lu. Every 15th day of the first lunar year is market day in the city of Lu. Residents from the kingdom of Zhou come to sell or buy goods, and some just to have fun. The monk thinks that with so many people the city deserves the title of the most prosperous in the district. The young man thinks that today is a great day to promote Shaolin, but as soon as he entered the city, people immediately began to discuss him and his appearance. Two monks in a nearby shop say that the great master held the title of Shariputra, and all people with such a title must vow to be reborn in another country. But he cannot be reborn without any punishments. The abbot is angry that these foreign monks lectured at the foot of Mount Shaoshi, and they really do not believe in the powers of Shaolin. The youth intends to show them what he is capable of. The young man strikes the system mirror and says that sooner or later everything will belong to him. The foreign envoys break out in a cold sweat at this sight. One of them calmly asks Yi Jie, "Can I help the poor monks with something?" A Shaolin disciple with a forced smile says, "You both spoke about true Buddhism, which no one has truly appreciated." The second foreigner agrees with him and says that the world has changed. People do not believe that his Zen sect is genuine. They have been standing here for 2 hours and have not received a single donation coin. And Yi Jie smiles broadly again, and pointing at himself with his finger, offers them cooperation. He will arrange a performance for them, and they will dress him up, and the guys will split the profit in half. The friends whisper among themselves. They were afraid that they had come with complaints, and that they were breaking the rules, but they were offered cooperation. They are forced to agree since they are poor anyway. The fat man clarifies the details of the deal with the abbot. "So, we just have to stand aside, and for that, we get half the profit, right?" Yi Jie confirms this, but also says it might happen that he won't get any coins. The Shaolin disciple takes a plate from the guys. The monk suddenly shouted, "Dear guests, if you want to listen to stories, come all here." Passers-by immediately turned around. A woman's daughter, hearing this, immediately pulled her mother to listen to him. Onlookers think the monks are strange because instead of preaching scriptures, they tell stories. The guy is curious whether they have heard the story about the monk who studied without holy scriptures. He is an amazing man. He was born very beautiful and talented. Even His Majesty the Emperor called him his brother. He rode a sacred horse, wore expensive robes, ate and drank from golden dishes. But the monk considered money, fame, and property to be filth, so he wanted to go west to study the sacred scriptures. A girl from the crowd asks with interest what happened next to this monk. The guy says that this person became the most famous Taoist monk, Tang Xuanyin. People say with admiration how interesting it is to listen to him, and they started asking for more and more. The monk began to tell that when the world was created and the courts of yin and yang began, the world was divided into 4 parts, namely Dongshen Zhou, Xinyu Hezhou, Nanshan Buchu, and Beiju Luchou. and their story began with a monkey from Dongshenzhou. The girl felt sorry for this sage from the story. She does not understand why he was depressed for 500 years. The monk continued his story. Tathagata renounced the Jade Emperor and all the gods, left the heavenly gates with 2 servants. Although everyone sympathized with him, no one could help him, so he recited a mantra and summoned the mountain of 5 elements. And Yiji finished his story and says that now he has a new story. One woman was outraged and thinks that he is making up stories since they, for him, never end. And the young man says that originally they came to receive alms, but now it is too late and they cannot just return to the temple empty-handed. The monk folds his hands and asks to give them money, and immediately their bowl overflowed with coins, which shocked the foreign monks. A Shaolin follower says that Amitabha will be with them because they are generous people. He invites to visit his temple early in the morning, as poor monks and nuns will be waiting for their arrival. People leave smiling, and Yijie shouts after them, "Remember, early in the morning you can find me in the Shaolin temple." The abbot hugs his new friends and suggests sharing the money and going their separate ways. Brothers from foreign temples think that Yijie is the one. Tolstoy is called Hoi Zhen. His younger brother is called Hoi Min. They lost their temple and now are forced to wander the world. They ask to join the Shaolin temple. The guy says that their temple does not accept foreigners, but he believes that if a monk is not greedy and can pass their test, then he is worthy. The guys, noticing that he really is the abbot, immediately began to apologize to him. They could not even imagine, since he was dressed like a beggar. The monk suggests first to divide the money in order to continue the conversation about other things. The friends say that they did not participate in earning the money, and the young man should take it all for himself, and Yijie, saying that he cannot take it all for himself, began to hide coins in his sleeve. They think that the gentleman is very talented, and in the future will be able to promote his dharma, and they both want to join his temple. Even if there is not enough money, they still ask the abbot to accept them. The monk understands that for the prosperity of Shaolin, it is worth not only restoring it, but also recruiting disciples so that the temple becomes more popular. The young man says that at first glance he understood that the guys are worthy to enter his temple. However, they should not think that joining the temple is very easy. Otherwise, they will not perceive him as a true abbot. Seeing their desire, he offers them to first join the Shaolin sect. He will watch over them and their behavior, and then decide whether to accept them or not. The guy created imaginary sects that will put pressure on them so that they work hard for the imaginary sect. The guys say that the abbot is merciful and they will never let him down. Night fell. The guys had already started climbing Mount Shaoshi. Min began to doubt whether they had joined the Shaolin temple too quickly, and Zhen answered affirmatively. No. Zhen has a premonition that if he follows Yijie, he will always have enough food. The abbot asks them to come in and get acquainted with the new brothers. The young man introduces the guys to each other and they bow as a sign of acquaintance. Jing is happy that he now has a younger brother, and Hong worries and wonders what kind of disciples they will be. Stretching, the senior comrade orders them to go to sleep in Jing's room. He suggests resting first, since they have a lot of work tomorrow. Lying in bed, the monk thinks that the Shaolin building is too cramped. He fears that the small temple will not be able to accommodate many people. He will try to expand it, but for that money is needed. Yi Ji began to have bad dreams. Min says that there is no more food in the temple, and Jen says that all their money is gone. The abbot jumped up and saw a silhouette in front of him. He shouts that he has no money. And it turned out to be Jing. He points with his finger to the side and says that there are many people outside who want to see Yi Ji. People arrive from the city early in the morning to listen to his stories. They can't wait for the continuation. The monk approaches them with folded palms and says that they have not changed at all overnight. A Shaolin disciple says that today he planned to bow and offer incense to the Buddha, but he can tell them the journey to the west in his free time. And the people ask that the other 4 monks do all the work for him. Zhen leads the others away and says that they will go to the foot of the mountain to work. Yijit is glad that his newly made disciple helped him out. Now there is only 1 monk in the temple, and during the Buddha ceremony, the incense often needs to be replaced, so he will not be able to tell stories. The people are dissatisfied because they came so early, so they ask the abbot to come up with something. The young man says that they can buy some incense, then take turns lighting it so that the Buddha not only sees them, but also blesses their world. A girl from the crowd says that she will buy 2 sticks and asks to start the ceremony. The monk says that all you need to do is throw 3 copper coins and light the stick. She does not understand why the incense smells like oil. Yi Ji says that there is oil in the incense so that the flame emits more energy. The more burning incense there is, the more blessings the devotees will receive from the Buddha. The young man says that the incense must not go out, as it is disrespectful to the Buddha. If it stops burning, the monk will have to stop the stories for today. The abbot bought the sticks wholesale, so he earns 2 coins from each, so he can earn 40 coins per hour. If he tells stories for 5 hours, he can get 2 silver coins, so he got to work. A man from the crowd, listening to his stories, scratches his chin with a somewhat forced smile. He looks suspicious. And Yiji says that it is already getting dark, and that's all for today. And if someone wants to hear more stories, they should come tomorrow. The monk sees that everyone has left, but one listener remains. The man introduces himself. Chiendelu. He came here to meet the abbot. The young man sees that this person is very smart and resourceful and probably an important figure, and Chien thinks that the monk is too straightforward. The old man offers him a business deal. He wants to record Yijie's stories to later sell books to people from other cities. The merchant thinks that this is very profitable, and since the monk has not seen the world, he will be easy to deceive. The abbot thinks about how to trick Chiendelu. The youth immediately asks, "How much money will I get?" The man shows that 20 silver coins is a good price for a book. Yiji agrees. Deal, but 200,000 coins is like a breath of fresh air. Chiendelu was shocked by this price. He says he agrees only to 22. The monk says that the reader is doing business not for the benefit of faith, so he can leave. The merchant hesitates. At first he names the price as 30 coins, then 100. And the abbot says that he communicates with the reader as a friend, but he talks to him as a fool. The man falls at his feet and does not understand what kind of business this is, where the price is set as they want. Chiendelu is sweating from excitement, and thinks that the monk is a speculator who will suck all the money out of him. The man is worried because the abbot insisted on a full analysis of the story and asks 50 coins for an episode, which means that a story of 100 episodes will cost 5,000 silver coins. But fortunately, he was allowed to pay in installments. First, he pays for the first 30 episodes, then for the next 30 episodes, and so on. And Ji asks his partner if he wants to visit Mount Shaolin Temple, Yuhan with him. The man feels that another pit awaits him ahead, so he says that he has other matters and will leave first. The monk says he wants to accompany the admirer, but he also wants to arrange a tour of the Shaolin Temple. The merchant reluctantly agreed. The abbot asks Qin what he thinks about the future of the Shaolin Temple. The listener says that the Yuhan mountain area, where the Shaolin Temple is located, is very large, easy to defend, and hard to attack, and it is also famous for figures like Zhang Fan, so he assumes that the temple has a great future. Yiji is surprised that the patron knows about Shaolin philosophy. Xian says that Shaolin preaches compassion and the salvation of all beings, which is welcomed among the people, but at the moment, it is not so popular, so it is better for the temple to gain a name in the world to be well known. The abbot thanks him for his opinion and says that their views coincide, as he also believes that Shaolin will prosper soon. Standing on the edge of a cliff, the monk shows where he wants to build the mountain gates, as well as a wall, lay the ground with bricks, and restore the old road up the mountain for everyone. But alas, he currently has no money for this. The man is glad that Yijie remains a monk, otherwise he would have no place in the city of Lue. Therefore, the monk wants to make another deal with the patron. Referring to the future of Shaolin, he wants to borrow money. The entrepreneur says that he is optimistic about the future of Shaolin. But if the abbot's monastery is established but does not bring in money, it will be a big loss for him. Yiji began telling the story. The Han dynasty rose in rebellion because the ancestor beheaded the white snake and ruled the world. Later, Guanzhongxing was handed over to Emperor Xian, and the dynasty split into 3 kingdoms. The young man asks the patron what he thinks about this story, and the man says that this story should be sold to him. Chiendelu says that he will invest in this matter without any problems. The guy says that this is the right decision while thinking about 5,000 coins for the Shaolin Temple. Now there is enough money, but this is a big project that should be completed in 3 to 5 months. He hopes that Feiyan can bring many workers and materials by tomorrow. Suddenly, a notification popped up in front of his face. Dragon Boat Festival, plus 1 lucky ticket. The abbot realized that promotions were also held in the system every New Year's holiday. The guy got a super rare item for the 2nd time, and it seems luck is on his side today. He received a fish gong and thinks it is no different from an ordinary wooden one, but accidentally striking it, he found himself already on a warm beach, not in a temple high in the mountains. The young man understood that this treasure calms people's minds and allows them to forget their problems. When the time comes, he will strike the fish gong next to someone who is upset, distressed, or dissatisfied with their life. Maybe they can sort out their problems and turn to Buddhism. Then his temple will rise from its knees. Now Yiji opened the Lotus Sutra. This vast amount of knowledge is very attractive. In order to build 10,000 Buddha pagodas is also a good thing. He remembers that in ancient times people especially loved to believe in miracles. If he comes up with something real and hires someone to retell the story, he will attract even more believers. He regrets that he did not receive any new martial arts techniques, but still these 3 things are useful for the Shaolin Temple. Yiji had already woken up and gone out for exercise when suddenly visitors called out to him. The man brought all of the people with him, and they brought money with them. Yi takes the money and asks, "Is this the amount they agreed on yesterday, right?" Delu clears his throat and says that here are 1,000 silver ingots and 5,900 in silver notes. The monk holds the sack in his hands and says that this is the first money for the construction of the Shaolin temple. The abbot of the temple unrolls the scroll and suggests to his friends to start the construction. The abbot tells them the construction plan. From here to here, we must build a wall around Mount Yuhan. This part will be completely covered with bricks. The road up the mountain will be restored, and along it on both sides, handrails will be installed. His business partner, hearing all this, whispers in his ear, "Sir, I'm afraid this won't work." E.G. does not understand what is wrong, since infrastructure is the main priority, and it is better to do the foundation now than to redo it in the future. The man means that to repair all this, it will take about 30,000 silver, so he does not understand where he will get so much money. The young man says that it is windy here, and invites Qian for a cup of tea. But he flinches and asks the abbot not to worry. The entrepreneur wants to be honest, and says that his bank can be called the largest branch, and the maximum loan amount cannot exceed 10,000 taels, but the monk's construction plan has changed, and he cannot do anything about it. The abbot realized that the old man's authority is insufficient. Since he manages the branch, there must be a main office, and the young man asks where it is located. Cyan says that the main office is in Jinglin, and his branch is in the city district. The maximum amount the branch can give is 50,000, but he thinks the temple will be built for 30 or 40,000. The guy is wondering if he, being a poor monk, can borrow money there. The man says that it is not a problem at all, but he fears that it will not be easy. The branch owner in the district is a man named Zhao. He has a contradictory personality. He can easily talk to people. He likes it, but only if the visitors cannot properly play their cards. The abbot wonders what kind of person might please Master Zhao. For a literati who constantly suffered failures and had an underrated talent, it is quite normal to have a strange character. Qian says that Zhao loves talented people. There was one person who wrote a 7-character quatrain. Then the owner applauded standing and immediately gave him 50,000 taels. The monk thinks it is not difficult and asks to be passed to the man. The poor monk will meet you tomorrow. The branch worker does not understand what talents a monk could have. It never occurred to him that Yi Ji would insist on a meeting. Qian says that he will be at the foot of the mountain tomorrow and they can go to the branch together. The next day they come to the shop. The man asks Xiao Hong if he can see Master Zhao. The boy agrees and says he will call him now, but suddenly his gaze sharpens on something. Noticing the abbot, he points at him with the words, "You are the storyteller monk." Yi Ji bows. The monk did not expect to see a little fan here. Xiao Hong says that he came to the Shaolin temple 2 days ago to listen to his stories. Qian dilutes his cheerfulness and says that they need to see the master as soon as possible. The boy asks the monk not to leave, because he wants to hear the end of the story about the monkey. Yi Ji considers him a very cute little boy. Shiosedli says that owner Zhao cannot receive the abbot now. He asks to wait here. Sipping tea, the guy sees that the fan's emotions are different from when he left, and apparently the master deliberately asked to wait. The monk asks the boy's name and says that he can finish the story while waiting for Zhao. The boy likes this idea. His name is Huang Fei Hong. He kindly asks the abbot if he is hungry. Huang offers him several types of cakes right away. Yi Ji thinks that the Shaolin temple can consider recruiting secular disciples with powerful martial arts, like Huang Fei Hong. The boy is interested in the monk's story. He believes that Sun Wukong should not have been imprisoned for 500 years under the mountain, even though he caused a rebellion. Qian tells Huang not to talk nonsense because Tathagata Buddha is the head of 10,000 Buddhas, and the person in front of him is the abbot of the temple. The monk asks his fan if he has ever seen a statue of Buddha. Xiao Hong often sees the statue of Buddha. He has a round head, a big belly, and he is always smiling. Yi Ji says that Buddha also knew he was very fat and therefore wanted to lose weight. Upon hearing these words, Qiandelu even spat out his tea. Lose weight? Did Buddha lose weight? Xiao Hong asked with both surprise and interest. Buddha wanted to lose weight, so every day he ate vegetarian food. He even invented a special exercise for weight loss. Did it every day, but still did not lose weight. Buddha used many methods, but all were ineffective, and when he found out that Sun Wukong ate everything and looked better than him, he began to envy him. In a fit of rage, he envied him and imprisoned him for 500 years under the mountain of the 5 elements. A fan of his stories laughed so hard that he grabbed his belly. The man sees that the abbot is truly not ordinary. Being an observer of the temple, he jokes about Buddha and does not adhere to worldly notions. Time flew by quickly during the stories, and evening had already come. The boy invites the abbot and the seller Qian to join the banquet for the guests. The branch employee understands that this is a sign of disrespect towards the monks, since Zhao kept them here all day waiting. Qian was nervous but wanted to explain himself to his partner. Yijai smiles and thinks that if they were invited, then they correspond to the branch owner. He asks Xiao Hong to escort them. The boy kindly leads the abbot to Zhao, and the monk from afar notices 3 men. The branch seller tells his boss that the Shaolin abbot and Qian have arrived. Zhao introduces the old man. He is the pride of their Dengfeng district, hero Chen Dingchen. Chen is a celebrity in their district. He excels in martial arts and can amazingly pierce holes with a folding fan. Once he killed 4 great villains outside the city to secure the area. The warrior, hiding behind the fan, says there is nothing special about that. Cyan knows the truth. In fact, they were just small-time gangsters, and the monk asks for forgiveness for his disrespect. Next, he introduces the overseer of the Fawang Temple on Shaoxi Mountain, Master Li Xuan. He is the younger brother of Master Lai Kong, the temple guardian who practices Buddhism and martial arts. Zhou first introduces Qian, and when it comes to Yi Ji, he cannot remember from which temple the monk is. The guy says he is the abbot of the Shaolin Temple, and he thinks seller Zhao is hostile. Li Xuan knows this temple, as it is also located on Shaoxi Mountain, situated at the very top. A very good place. But the sect was founded long ago and its reputation is not great. Moreover, the Shaolin population has disappeared, along with their skills. The overseer of the Fawang Temple suggests that Yi Ji should only practice martial arts and Buddhism, and that he is not strong in Taoism. The abbot disagrees with what Master Li said. Although his sect does not have many disciples, they are still connected by heart, and recently some monks have started joining the temple. The guy expresses his point of view. He believes that his sect is not inferior to any other in Buddhism and martial arts, and sooner or later Shaolin martial arts will be known worldwide. Li Xuan says that the abbot's demands are too high. He does not understand how the young man dares to say that Shaolin martial arts will be known worldwide. His mentor, brother Li Kong, is very strong in martial arts, but even he does not dare to say such things. And Jia says that 3 years will be enough for Shaolin to become known to everyone. Li Xuan stands in a stupor after such statements. The overseer of the Fawang Temple does not like the tone of the youth, so he suggests fighting him. But the monk calmly replies, "This is the house of Seller Zhao. As guests, we must follow his rules." So he proposes to fight once they leave the banquet. The overseer of the Fawangu Temple came here to borrow money and therefore tried not to cause trouble. But after this, he does not intend to let Yi Jie go just like that. The monk says their debate will be postponed for a while. But the abbot just said that in his school Buddhism and martial arts are not inferior to other schools. So since the Seller Zhao is a scholar, let him compare Kung Fu by the books. The young man fell into thought. Li Xuan says mockingly that the Shaolin disciple is afraid. He wants him to apologize. Xian wanted to say something to the abbot, but the guy interrupts him and says it will be better this way. But if they are talking about Buddhism, then the Seller Zhao will not be very interested in it. Therefore Yi Jie suggests comparing poetry. Hearing this, the old man was very surprised. The branch owner claps his hands and says that today it would be wonderful for him to hear their beautiful poetry. Li Shun says that it is good, but one should not forget about the prize. It must be worthy, otherwise the poems will not be very pleasant. Hero Chen asks the master what prize he wants. The monk says that the prize should be something they really need. He offers the shopkeeper Zhao 30,000 taels of silver, which he mentioned earlier, as soon as possible. Tipping over a glass of drink, the branch owner says that if the poem fits, giving this money will not be a problem. Chen Dancheng offers his candidacy as a judge, since he has heard many poems from the street. Yi Ji believes that these 3 people have already discussed the loan issue and are now just pretending. Zhao asks the abbot what he thinks about this. The monk says that he will have to ask for 50,000 taels of silver. Li Xuan looked disapprovingly at the young man upon hearing the amount. The branch owner says it will depend only on the monk's talent for this. He asks what awaits those who lose. Chen says that the loser will face a penalty in the form of a drunk bottle of wine. Zhao says that this will be a violation of the vows of both monks. The hero of the province asks Li Xuan what he thinks about this. The master says that if Yi Jie loses, he will punish himself with a bottle of wine. The others ask the Shaolin abbot for his opinion with a sly smile. Qiandelu is angry that the abbot is being humiliated. Despite his status, he is still their guest. The guy wants to make Li Xuan break his commandments, and in case of his defeat, he is not afraid of such punishment. Yi Ji cannot lag behind the courage of the monk. Wine and meat pass through his stomach, but Buddha is in his heart. In case of his loss, Buddha will understand this abbot. Zhao finds the young man very amusing, because with his speech he only elevated himself. So even if he eats meat or drinks alcohol, it will only create a good reputation for him. The man, placing a glass on the table, suggests officially starting. The girls gather at the event and peek from around the corner, praising the beauty of the Shaolin monk. Li Shen suggests writing poems related to Buddhism, since they are monks. Yi Ji says that is how it should be. The man places himself above the guy and does not consider him, since he prepared several Buddhist poems in advance. The abbot of the Fawang Temple began first to recite his poems. After listening, Chen enthusiastically clapped his hands, saying how picturesque and emotional his poems were. The monk invites Abbot Yi Jie, and Zhao thinks to himself that these poems are not bad, but far from the best. The guy, using the system, searches for poems in his poetic library. A Shaolin disciple says that now he will demonstrate his skills. He says that the moonlight today is extremely beautiful, and Qian agrees with him and says that this evening, combined with wine and poetry, is one of the greatest pleasures in life. And Li Xuan, while waiting, asks the abbot not to delay and to demonstrate his skills. And Jia says that Master Li Xuan develops the mind, and his impatience contradicts Buddhist teachings and affects the state of mind. The master thinks that the young man just wants to avoid the topic. Suddenly, the Shaolin disciple broke the long silence and began to recite his poems. Everyone present immediately froze in anticipation of the story. Hearing the lines of the poem, Zhao seemed to be transported into their fairy tale world. The branch owner feels a wonderful sensation of the spring wind. The man tells the abbot that his great aspirations and ambitions have become a lesson for him. And if he can understand this world, he will make a name for himself without exerting effort. The monk thanks him for the warm words and talks about his construction plan. He came here to ask for help from the seller Zhao. The shopkeeper folds his hands and admires the righteousness of the abbot. Li Xuan, pouring out cold sweat, does not understand whose style of poetry the man chose. Xian tells the master that he cannot compare to Yi Jie. The hero Chen draws a parallel and says that stubborn stones cannot be compared to golden jade. The overseer of the Fawang Temple shouts and pressures Zhao to get an answer. He replies that the abbot recited an excellent poem, which he hears for the first time, so there is no point in even comparing them. The embittered monk understood that they do not want to lend him money, so he will go elsewhere. The confused Zhao wants to say something after him, but Li Xuan, leaving, says that Yi Jie can build his own Shaolin temple and spend as much money as needed, but he will not succeed. And the young man confidently replies, "You should not worry about this. I will do everything right." And finally, after signing the contract, Shaolin received 50,000 taels and the construction of the temple officially began. Everyone in the sect and even the lazy Yi Kong worked tirelessly. Also, a new disciple appeared in the temple, Huang Fei Hong. The abbot is glad that Shaolin has achieved its first successes. Yi Ji continued earning by telling stories and narrated another tale. Suddenly, ugly bandits entered the temple. One of them threateningly says, "Lord Niu is here, hurry up and get out." Their boss sits on a stool and placing his sword down, he breaks bricks. The abbot is angry because he bought these bricks with borrowed money. The bandit says that everyone who does business in the district pays him tribute. He asks to request it voluntarily, and they will also have to pay extra because he came personally. Wan tells his teacher that this is a simple martial arts instructor. This guy is nothing, and the people around him are his students. They are all locals. And Yi Ji asks the student how many of these people he has had contact with. Fei Hong replies that with few. But except for Niu Air, he has no opponents here. Now there are many, so he can handle 3, at most 5. Niu's servant aggressively orders him to bring out the money, and then their master will forgive the monk's past mistakes. Yi Ji advises them to do good instead of evil, because what a person sows, he will reap, and what they did today in the temple may cause them suffering in future reincarnations. The abbot asks them to put away the knife, repent to Buddha, and leave immediately to avoid meeting retribution. The young man understands that he cannot pay the protection fee because he is currently building the temple. The bandit points the sword directly at Yi Jie and asks him if he will pay the money or not. Yi Ji asks what will happen if he does not pay. And Kong is scared. He does not understand why they cannot show a little compassion. After all, they are simple monks. Huang says that such a person always looks for an easy way to make money, and if you show weakness once, he will come again and ask for even more. Niu sees that they do not want to pay and attacks the abbot. He intends to destroy their unfinished temple. The abbot does not understand how they dare to threaten him. If they are monks, it does not mean they will not fight. The guys together deal with the bandits. Their leader decides to attack Yi Ji, and he does not understand why the strongest decided to attack him specifically. The young man thinks that since Niu wants to cut off his head, he will show him his technique. The bandit sees that he will not be able to stop his strike and will kill this bald monk. All the disciples from the temple began to shout because they are worried about their comrade. But after hitting Yi Ji on the head, Niu's sword flew out of his hand. The guys had to catch their boss because he was also thrown back as if he had hit not a head, but a solid stone. The abbot exhaled after the blocked strike. The head of the temple repeats to him, "Put down the knife and stand before Buddha right now, otherwise I will have to act." With tears in her eyes, Niu ran away, shouting, "Monster!" And Yijie asks with a stern look whether the others will leave on their own or if they need help. The guys say that they will leave on their own and nothing needs to be done. Fans and brothers began to rejoice that their master solved the problems. They believe that the Shaolin temple is truly amazing. Huang asks the teacher to be more careful, because New Heir still has the support of Chen Jin, and it is better not to get involved with him. Yiji says that in any case it does not matter who supports him, because the monk has the support of Buddha. Today is the 25th. A month has passed since the young man arrived here, which means that as soon as midnight strikes he will be able to play the lottery. This lottery will determine whether he can cope with future gaps related to this group. The system asks the monk if he wants to use the lottery draw right now. Yiji confidently answers, yes. The abbot says that this time luck is very important. The Shaolin temple has become popular, and there will be more and more like New Heir, so he needs to acquire high-quality martial arts techniques. After more than 20 days of cultivation, his ability to absorb qi into his body became much stronger. If he can combine this with advanced technique, then what happened today will no longer occur. Yiji mastered the lion's roar technique. This is an iconic Shaolin martial art. The young man decides to use it, but now it is night, and everyone is asleep. So he decides to go to the back mountain. The lion's roar is one of the 72 Shaolin tricks. After its use, the tongue explodes with thunder, and the sound waves can travel dozens of miles. The abbot takes a deep breath. Using the new technique, he destroys a huge tree. The boy finds the lion's roar very intimidating, but suddenly after using it, he falls powerless. Yiji assumes that the reason may be that his internal strength is too weak, and if he does not continue to learn this, he will have problems. Suddenly, a silhouette with mystical energy grabs him by the neck. From the darkness comes an angry voice. Who is this child who dares to disturb the old man? In suffocation and with bulging eyes, the young man runs through his thoughts. What kind of master is behind the mountain of the Shaolin temple? Yiji uses his new technique against the unknown old man with his last strength. The monk understands that if this man wanted to kill him, he would have done it long ago, but he let him go. The abbot assumes that the stranger cannot leave this place for some reason, so he can only intimidate. In any case, it is dangerous, and as the abbot of Shaolin, he must find a way to remove him from here. According to the plan, the Shaolin temple can be divided into 4 parts. The first will contain 10 halls of reincarnation, the main hall and other Buddhist halls. And the remaining rooms will be mainly intended for tourists and pilgrims. The third area will be the inner Shaolin temple, which includes other halls, bedrooms, and a martial arts field. And regarding the fourth area, he needs to rely on the manifestation of Buddha. The construction token breaks, and qi energy flows from the monk's hand. The entire tower glows with yellow energy, and Jaya sees all this power given to the Son of Heaven. Now he understands that the man from the mountain cannot compare to him in any way. Only on the first floor, there are 1,500 large and small statues of Buddha. The second floor is similar to the first, but the central statue of Buddha has become a bodhisattva. The young man is amazed because there are still 8 more floors with more than 10,000 statues. This tower was erected on the ground overnight. Such a miracle will definitely increase the number of believers in the Shaolin temple, and with a good base it will be much easier to recruit disciples. Yija is one step closer to completing the task and to his freedom. Jing wakes up sleepy and tells his comrades to wake up. As always, in the morning people rush to the temple to listen to the abbot's stories. Fans notice the tower and believe that Buddha himself appeared here. People immediately fell to their knees and began to pray to Buddha for blessings for themselves and their relatives. The monk folds his hands and greets the guys. The young man jumps out from the highest floor of the tower. People with horror in their eyes watch his fall. Using the iron head technique, he breaks the ground with it. Yiji says that recently Buddha visited his dream and said that he was touched by the sincerity of the Shaolin temple and for this will perform a miracle. The abbot says that this tower of 10,000 steps can bless only 10,000 families. So if they really believe in Buddha, they will be able to visit this tower. All the others can only watch and burn their incense outside the tower. The monk understands that if many people enter the tower at once, it may collapse. Besides, it is a good way to make money. A girl from the crowd asks the abbot to tell how one can please Buddha. And Yiji says that a small statue costs 5 taels, and a medium Buddha statue costs 12. And to get access to all the rooms, one must pay 100 taels of silver. A boy whispers to his uncle from the crowd that yesterday in Shaolin some scoundrels came to collect tribute, but the abbot drove them away and said that Buddha would appear soon. As a result, the tower appeared overnight today. The uncle believes that this small temple should be grateful to Buddha. He asks his informant if he has checked this abbot. The boy replies that Yiji has been in the temple since childhood, and when his master died, the power passed to him. As for martial arts, the informant does not know, since the Shaolin temple is secretive in this regard. The uncle asks to stir up the conflict between Yiji and Niu again, to learn all the monk's capabilities. The uncle asks his subordinate to secretly assign someone to guard the abbot if he really can communicate with Buddha. Another visitor to the temple gives 5 taels of silver so that Buddha may bless his family with peace and tranquility. Yiji tells him that if a worshipper is sincere, Buddha will hear him. But suddenly in the crowd, a monk notices the disguised Niu heir. This guy is probably waiting for a chance to take revenge. Although the abbot can knock out these scoundrels with his lion's roar, since there are many residents here, he will have to find another way to get rid of them. The young man says that the Shaolin temple is blessed by Buddha and will continue to show miracles in the future. Yiji says that there are people who want to destroy Shaolin, make Buddha hate this place. By doing so, they are not only enemies of Shaolin but enemies of everyone. The abbot asks the people if such behavior can be tolerated, and all as one shouted, "No, protect the Shaolin temple." The monk pointed to Niu and his gang in the crowd and says that Buddha is merciful, but they should teach the villains a lesson. Pouring out cold sweat, the gang leader did not expect this. A man from the crowd grabs a brick and attacks the bandit. The guys grab tools to deal with the villains. Yiji sees that the mass path is the right decision. It is useful for the future recruitment of disciples and allows hiding one's strength. That mysterious man from the crowd approaches the abbot of Shaolin and wants to get acquainted. The monk notices that the man's aura is unusual and he is not so simple. Above Jianghu, there is a clear division of Houtian masters and innate masters. Houtian is divided into early, middle, late stages and the great completion of Houtian. The early stage refers to cultivating the discipline of internal energy and the sensation of qi. Middle Houtian refers to cultivating internal energy with a certain level of achievement. At this time, attacks using any part of the body supported by internal energy can cause great damage. At later stages, internal energy can be studied outside the body, so people can clearly feel it. For example, when internal energy pours into the eyes, so people dare not look at them. Perfection of Houtian means that the achievement of internal energy has reached the realm of small success, and at this time internal energy can be discharged. The young man notices that this person's gaze is like a torch, so he is at least a late master. But he does not understand whether he is an enemy or a friend. Yiji thinks that the stranger wants to become a monk or a Buddhist, since he invited him to talk indoors. The man says that he came here uninvited to talk with the abbot. The abbot of Shaolin regrets having to welcome the guest here. The stranger says that he is a simple commoner with a small fortune, so he is unworthy of the word honored guest. The monk thinks that if the guest came to Shaolin to find him, then he is clearly not an ordinary person. The guest asks the abbot what he sees, and Yiji assumed that the man was from the army. After these words, his expression immediately changed. Dark visible qi energy emanates from him. The disciple runs towards this deadly aura and does not understand what is happening. The man says that if he were not sure he had never seen the abbot before, he would have doubted his identity. The monk understands that the man could not have seen him and simply accidentally revealed it. The unknown man says that since the abbot really sees who he is, there is no point in hiding that he is from the army. The man says that this time he really came to the abbot for a certain reason. The father of one of his friends believed in Buddhism all his life to the point of obsession, striving for something in his life connected to the nature of Buddha. For this reason, the old man traveled around the world and spent a huge amount of money, but could not obtain what he desired for many years. A few days ago, the soldier overheard that a Buddha miracle appeared in the Shaolin temple, and since he was here on official business, he came to visit the abbot hoping to receive something from the nature of Buddha. Yiji says that it is not difficult, but if the man believes in Buddha, he should personally come to their temple to show his sincerity. The young man does not want to deal with the government, especially the military. The monk understands that if he does not agree to the request, the guest will not back down, so it is better to make friends first. The military man has a request. He asks the abbot of the temple to allow him to see something with the nature of Buddha so that he can later have an idea of what to expect. And Yiji strikes the instrument and asks the man to listen to the sound and calm his mind. The guest is immediately transported to an oasis with beautiful women. He asks the abbot in surprise, "Is this the power of Buddha's nature?" The military man says that if he ever leaves his official duties, he will come to Shaolin and stay with Buddha for a long time. The monk, holding a string of beads in his hand, says that it was personally enlightened by him, so he gives it as a souvenir. Shangguansheng thanks the abbot for this gift. The young man asks to return and requests the old man to come to Shaolin. The man gave his name, but he sees that the abbot remained unshaken. It is clear that he is truly an extraordinary person. Shangguansheng, Yiji thought in surprise. He feels that he has heard this name somewhere before. The monk says that if the military man wants to gain the respect of officials, he will still have to improve his strength and the strength of Shaolin. Otherwise, if he meets an unreasonable person, all his efforts will be in vain. The young man has been here for more than a month and has participated in 3 lotteries, in April, at the festival, and the May lottery. There is still a month until the next draw, so he needs to diligently practice his skills during this time to avoid a situation like yesterday's. Yichi noticed that Shaolin had gained some fame, and it is expected that more people will come after some time. The young man understands that they could use such an opportunity to recruit students. A crazy excitement began around the temple. Everyone was very interested in the recruitment announcement. A young girl enthusiastically asks, "Who can try? Can I?" Some old man, blind and sick, says that he is not even 30 yet and is interested in his chances. The guy behind the grandfather looks at him in shock. The crowd listens to the admission rules. Men aged from 10 to 25 years can have a family or not. Must be healthy and have a strong character. The young man in the crowd is stunned because he did not know that Shaolin taught martial arts. A man enthusiastically replies to him, "Of course, did you see what the master did last time?" Everyone was interested in entering Shaolin. They consider Shaolin a precious place, blessed by Buddha, and being a student of this temple is a pride for their ancestors. Registration began. At the reception table, the commissioner is angry at a little girl and sends her home. The second test for the candidates is physical training. Yiji gives them a challenge to hold huge logs. The third test shows the patience and perseverance of the candidates. The monk is shattered after such a difficult day, as about 100 people came at the beginning. But after 3 tests, only 3 or 4 remained. But in the end, no one remained. The Shaolin disciple was already ready to use various tricks to test the will of the young people. But suddenly his thoughts are interrupted by the temple doors flying open. The guys are puzzled, as it is already late evening and the temple is closed. A huge tiger as white as snow arrived at Shaolin, and Yiji immediately gave the order to close the door and not let the beast in. The young man understands that the tiger is too big and cannot be handled, considering his internal energy. But suddenly the beast retreated and stopped stubbornly pressing against the entrance door. But before it could move away, Yiji sees a huge hand reaching into the small gap. A giant appears before the monk with that very tiger on his shoulder. The young man realizes that it is better to deal with him than with the predator, and asks the guest what his purpose is. Someone from behind shouts, "Mistress of the temple doors, they are still open, we have arrived on time." A girl in a gorgeous outfit and incredible beauty arrived at the temple. The servant, hugging the tiger, orders the monks to step back. The guys are puzzled about what is even happening here. The annoying girl treats the monks carelessly and says that their lady is here to worship Buddha. And the young man informs them that the temple is already closing and invites them to come early tomorrow morning to offer incense. The lady servant got angry and says that if the monk continues babbling, he will feel the fangs of their tiger. The mistress calms Xiao Chui and says that her words are becoming more and more nonsensical. The lady asks if among their 5 there is Master Abbot, and Jia informs the mistress that he is the abbot of this temple. The guy felt that just the sound of her voice already made him happy, and apparently she is not an ordinary noble lady. The girl apologizes to the monk and says that there are too many visitors here during the day, and since she has always liked the silence and peace of this temple, she did not know when it closes. The abbot asks her not to apologize, since it is not her fault that she did not know. Xiao Cui asks to wait until the Iron Bull and Da Huang enter first, to make sure there is no ambush in this temple. The lady asks her maid not to be so rude. The lady begins to apologize, and Brother Abbot considers this an unacceptable rudeness for Shaolin. Yijis asks them to leave since they believe the temple is a place where evil intent can be hidden. The girl considers the young abbot brave if he dared to stop the Iron Bull and Da Huang. The giant gets angry and orders his tiger to show the monk what it is capable of. Their leader asks the Iron Bull to stop. The tiger lets out a monstrous roar right above Abbot's head. The abbot throws the beast back and changes his expression, for this temple is Shaolin's dignity. Da Huang is shocked by the energy emanating from the monk's strike. The young lady cannot believe that the young monk is so strong. Yiji finished the demonstration and exhaled deeply, and his comrades behind were no less shocked by his abilities. The Iron Bull calls the guy a snot-nosed kid and rushes after him. The girl asks the subordinate to stop. The big guy is annoyed and does not understand the boss's intention. The lady apologizes to the abbot of the temple. She hopes to be forgiven for such recklessness. Yiji asserts that there is nothing terrible about it. The young man once again notes the politeness of this lady. The lady begs to be allowed to enter the temple again to offer incense. The monk gestures where to go and invites her. The guy, pointing at the statue, says that this is the first level of the goddess of dripping water. Yichi noticed that Buddhism in this world is not as flourishing as in the previous one, but the popularity of the bodhisattva is still high. The abbot is surprised that the lady passed by without bowing to this god. He noticed that the guest went all the way to the 8th floor and still did not find the Buddha to worship. The young man thinks she will bring them a lot of money in the future. Finally, they arrived at the 9th floor to Namo Buddha Amitabha. The lady hopes that the abbot will keep her situation and what she said a secret. The girl hiding behind the scarf turns out to be extremely beautiful, and Yijie immediately blushes with embarrassment. She brings incense and prays with tearful eyes. The young man sees such a beauty for the first time. Even models from the past world pale in comparison to her. The lady prays to Buddha to bless her father with a speedy recovery. The lady knows that his injuries are serious, but the man still holds on so that no one sees his pain. The abbot, listening to her confession, understood that she was raised only by her father. The father thought that sorrows would go away if he started practicing martial arts, but villains overcame his mind and forced him to study dark mastery. The monk becomes curious about who this girl is, since the topic of dark mastery came up. Continuing to sob even more, she continued her confession. The lady does not want her only close person to leave her. Hearing about Buddha's miracle, the faithful daughter specifically came here to ask for guidance. She asks Buddha to show her the way. The young man tries to calm her down, but he just can't manage it. He gathers energy within himself and is about to use the lion's roar. It really worked, and now she began to hear Yijie. The lady apologizes for having lost control of herself. The monk began to talk about the 7 human sufferings, but the lady asked for details. There are hereditary sufferings related to unpleasant conditions in the mother's womb. Sufferings of old age when a person grows old and becomes weaker. Sufferings of illness when the body aches and there is no rest. There are also sufferings from resentment and hatred when the heart is filled with them and the desired only leads to harm. The girl agrees with the temple abbot, but she does not know what to do about it. She asks to enlighten her about the last suffering. Yiji says that the last suffering is the suffering of separation. The monk says that in life there is no greater pain than the pain of love and parting, when the beloved person leaves and nothing can be done about it. The lady's eyes fill with tears again. The young man does not understand why she is crying or what to do, because in the past life he would simply have offered his shoulder. A noble lady asks Yijie to teach him how to talk to Buddha. The young man politely asks her to sit down. The monk does not understand how he can teach someone with his half-forgotten knowledge of Buddhist scriptures. Yijie, looking at his treasure, is glad that he has it, as it helps him in troubling moments. The monk asks the girl to sit and listen as he taps to calm the mind, and maybe she can think everything over. The lady does not understand what a single melody can do. The lady melted in this sound. She believes it can cleanse the soul. Now she is not so upset about her father. The girl is confident that she will find a way out of this situation. The abbot asks the temple visitor how she feels. The lady noticed that this young monk has real abilities and maybe he knows some secret. She thanks him for what she saw, although she does not understand how the young man did it. The monk says that the girl exaggerated his abilities, and he only helped to think over and let go of her worries. Suddenly, the lady grabs his hands. The visitor says that she understood everything and will not return to her father for now, but is sure that he will figure everything out, and Yijie even blushed from surprise. He feels awkward because he is the abbot of the temple and cannot accept such actions. The girl noticed that her trick with beauty did not impress the young monk. The Lady of Faith planned to give Shaolin a sum of money for incense. Although it was a little, it was quite enough for several people to last 8 or 10 years. The young man immediately smiled again and began to thank her. But his joy was interrupted by the girl's words. "But I changed my mind." Yiji was annoyed and decided to ask why she made that decision. The lady knows that money and other worldly things are like drifting clouds to the abbot. The monk immediately became upset because this girl takes him for a simple priest, and he still owes money that he borrowed for a while. She apologizes for bothering the abbot for so long, but now she is calm. When she came, she saw a notice on the temple doors for lay students, so she became interested in whether Shaolin was recruiting female disciples. Yiji twisted his face after her words. Everyone knows that women are not allowed in the temple. The rich man's daughter says that devout girls can find a place to stay at the foot of the mountain and come to Shaolin whenever it is time for morning classes and martial arts practice. The monk explains to the girl that the Shaolin temple does not accept female disciples. It is an iron rule that cannot be broken. She, hearing the abbot's voice, wanted to stay near Buddha for a long time. But since she cannot do that, the lady wants the Iron Bull to stay in Shaolin as a disciple instead of her. Yiji is stunned because this Iron Bull is a huge man standing at the door. The young man thinks he underestimated his guest. Just now she lulled his vigilance by showing true feelings, and now, having come to her senses, she has figured out the monk. At first she said she wanted to join Shaolin, fully knowing she would not succeed, but still spoke about it to make this Iron Bull stay in Shaolin. The abbot says that the doors of their temple are open to all beings, for they all have Buddha nature. The lady's servant is shocked after the news that the Iron Bull is staying here. The lady apologizes to the monk for her behavior. The girl thinks that the Iron Bull is too stupid and they need to find someone smart and reliable at the main altar. The lady believes that the Iron Ox may be foolish, but he is a sincere person, and she is sure that he will serve the Buddha. She thinks that her subordinate will be an excellent candidate, and the smart one will definitely be bad. The visitor noticed that even when she showed her true face, it did not cause the slightest change in Yijie's mood. The monk says that he also believes in the sincerity of the Iron Ox's desire to serve the Buddha. The lady says that the abbot of the temple can test the Iron Ox, but if he is unable to do so, he may allow him to leave on his own. She gives the order to the tiger to go into the forest, so as to come to help in time if Shaolin needs it. The girl is confused because she is worried about the tiger. Suddenly an idea came to her mind, and she remembered that Da Huang is the best at finding things. Yiji thinks that she smiles like a bad person. The servant escorts the beast into the forest. The lady wonders if the abbot wants to know the true identity of Wang Jun. The monk replies, "In the eyes of my Buddha all beings are equal. Let the girl's status be noble. But in the eyes of a poor monk all are equal." With a smile on her face, she agrees with him. The girls left the temple and hurried somewhere. The monk noticed that she mastered martial arts, had power and status, had a tiger as a pet, but also had a father who practiced evil intent, so he considered her an unrighteous person. The young man thinks that she is a disciple of demons. The next day, Shaolin continued recruiting disciples, and the Iron Bull was among the candidates along with everyone else. If he passes the final character test, he will be able to become a lay disciple of Shaolin. After several rounds of checks, this time a dozen people reach the final level in the test. The monk announces that the final test will begin in half an hour. During this period, free movement is allowed, but candidates are forbidden to leave the first level of the 10,000 Buddha's pagoda. Temple visitors enthusiastically discussed the recruitment of disciples, while some simply prayed to Buddha. The monk suggests the Iron Bull take a walk, since the time has not yet come, and he firmly replies to him, "I will stay here to protect the abbot," and Jia says that he can protect himself. The man agrees that the young man possesses certain skills, but the lady told him to protect the monk, and the monk tells him that the lion's roar will still cause significant damage. The guy began to take a breath into his lungs, and the Iron Bull immediately got scared, because he had already seen the lion's roar before. The abbot of the temple tells him to go for a walk, and Yijie says that since the man will work under his command, he must fully obey him in the Shaolin temple. The Iron Bull obediently agrees with him. One of the guys noticed a coin on the floor and decided to pick it up. A member of the Shaolin temple observed all this. Half an hour has already passed, and Yijie asks everyone to come over for a minute. The young man officially announces the recruitment exam closed. The guy who picked up the coin doesn't understand anything, because the final test hasn't even started yet. The abbot says that Shaolin is a Buddhist sect, and it pays attention primarily to the human heart. The monk placed a total of 120 copper plates on the floor. During the break, everyone found coins either alone or together, but all behaved differently. But in reality, only 2 people passed the test. The Iron Bull passed the test without even knowing it, and the poor boy passed as well. And Yiji says that the collection of gold is a kind of benefaction, and she distributes it to help those in need and do good. The abbot gave a speech about good and evil and sent everyone else home to think about it. Everyone was upset because their own greed ruined them. The monk introduces them to the first Shaolin disciple, Huang Feihong. Su and the Iron Bull greet their new comrade. The young man says that the guys will become Shaolin disciples after they pay respects to the ancestors with him. Yiji asks the recruit why he is called the boy Su, and he answers him that he grew up as a beggar, always asking for food. No one gave him a name, so he was nicknamed that way. The monk says that being poor and knowing how to pick up money is not bad. The abbot gives him a new name, Su Qian, which means bright future. The boy with tears in his eyes fell to his knees and began to thank Yijie. Although Yijie was not acquainted with the abbot Xuan He, in the end the youth inherited memories of the first ring and a deep impression remained in his memory. He owes his martial arts skills to the master, but she also loved her student and wanted the monk to have some achievements. The abbot says that today the 3 of them entered the Shaolin temple and now they represent the temple, and must also respect their master. From behind the hill the boys began to call out to Yijie. The boys brought him new clothing from Master Qian. This material costs a lot of money and Shaolin has recently been using a lot of silver. Yiji says that everything is fine, people depend on their clothes and one must try everything. A month later, the Shaolin disciple, training hard, was able to improve his skills. The abbot praises Su Qian and says that he has a very great talent in martial arts. The prior embarrasses Yi Jin by praising his training. The monk asks them not to be modest, because if they had not worked so hard and studied so well, they would not have achieved such great success so quickly. He calls the boys to meet their guest. Just now, Huimin said to the abbot in panic that a crowd of people appeared at the gates, eager to see him. Yijai thought with horror that it might be someone from the Fawang temple. The young man comes out of the temple and sees before him a whole guard of soldiers lined up in a column. It turns out to be Shangguan. He greets Yijie and asks him how he is doing. The monk is glad to see the soldier in good shape. The man introduces his lord to the abbot, saying that he is the only one who can communicate with Buddha. Guan does not believe that at such a young age the monk can already be great. Shangguan tries to convince the old man that he did not make the whole journey in vain, because despite his age, Yi Ji has real abilities. The monk does not like this whole dialogue, but since they serve in the army he will have to listen to them. The man says in confusion that this old gentleman is the father of the sectarian gentleman, and they came here from the residence. The abbot explains that medicine heals the sick, and Buddha guides the doomed. He sees that Guan does not trust him. The young man does not see a fate with his Shaolin in the old man, so they should return back. The old gentleman asks Yi Ji if he knows the price for his statements. Guan says that destroying the Shaolin of the abbot is an easy matter. Su Qian does not understand how the temple abbot can remain calm in this situation. Yi Ji says that since youth he has listened to Buddhist teachings and swords and soldiers' weapons will do him no harm. The young man would never trade the peace of Shaolin for the enlightenment of Master Guan. The guy understands that this old man has status and abilities. If they do not convince him, he will not take Shaolin seriously. The warlord considers the monk truly brave and extraordinary. Shangguan asks Yi Ji not to be offended, as the elder was only joking and did not mean to hurt. The abbot asks if this is really true. Guan says that he would not dare to destroy the temple. The monk orders Su Qian to close the gates. The men do not understand whether Yi Ji will really leave them here. The young Shaolin disciple says that it is cold outside and brings a blanket for the old man. Shangguan asks Guan not to be impulsive again. The old man accepts the blanket and asks to thank the abbot of the temple for his kindness. The subordinate suggests to the warlord to go downstairs and find an inn, then return to Shaolin. Guan says that he has already decided everything, and there is no need to chatter. He is ready to wait as long as necessary. The master says that they should hurry back, because the Buddhist sect is a pure place, and people with spears and swords have no place here. And Shangguan reminds the elder of the festival lord's order. The old man casts a stern look and asks, "Do you want me to drive you away, huh?" Shangguan was stunned and wished the master only not to catch a cold. Guan sits meditating near the temple. Su Qian truly considers the abbot a god because the old man is really waiting by the temple. Yi Ji says that when you take the initiative and ask another person, he is not impressed and even considers you a liar. But when he is ignored, he thinks that you possess real skills and stands up for him. The abbot sends the boy to rest. The young man begins to meditate. Over time, his martial arts have significantly improved, and the true qi in his body has shown signs of flow. But suddenly he is interrupted by a message that the July lottery is open and he is offered to play now. Yi Ji studied the pattern of light dots in previous draws. The distance between the starting point and the prize differs significantly. In the last draw, there were 14 squares between the squares of the lion's roar and the grand prize. If the light dots are irregular, then this time the monk should choose the book Bodhisattva's Commandments. The abbot intends to take a risk, because if the judgment is not accurate, the light dots will fall to the right or left of the grand prize, and this time a useless item will be drawn. Yi Ji is ready to exchange his brother's lonely life for the correct judgment about the lottery law. Suddenly the young man received a notification. 3 chances received for the lottery draw. Do you want to use them? Without much thought, the abbot agrees, as he intends to become rich. After the first attempt, he receives an order to build mountain gates and 1 reed. Upon receiving the prize, the mirror began to crack, and Yi Ji thought that the system had broken. A horse really jumps out from there. The monk is surprised that she really appeared. Now he will be more respectable when he goes out in public. Yi Ji's life is getting better and better, and his mood as well. The construction of the structure can be explained by the miracle of Buddha, but this white horse cannot be a gift from Buddha. The guy asks the beast to enter and stop at the entrance to the pagoda of 10,000 Buddhas. According to legend, the Dharma master once broke a reed and threw it into the river, standing on it to cross the Yangtze River. When the monk reaches the required level of inner strength, he will also be able to perform the feat of crossing the river using the reed. The young man believes that it is good that not all Shaolin monks need to know martial arts, so in the future it will be enough to allow only monks to practice martial arts. Yi Ji decides to try some light kung fu, but in his joy, the young man completely forgot that an old man was standing under the gate. The monk lands and asks Guan Yu if he has rested, and he replies that upon hearing the sound he decided to greet the abbot. The guy understands that the purpose of this old man's visit to Shaolin is to find tools of Buddhist magic. Guan asks Yi Ji if he wants to order something. The abbot of the temple says that he saw Buddha in a dream again. Hearing this, the old man was inspired and began to ask about Buddha. Buddha entrusted the youth with a dream that he would perform a miracle again and grant him the mountain gates in Shaolin. Guan says that in his 60 years he has never seen a miracle of Buddha, and his most cherished desire is to receive an object blessed by Buddha. The monk catches him and asks how Buddha's miracles can be seen by outsiders, and the old man nervously assures that he is a follower of Buddha. Yiji says that if the old man continues like this, he will have to leave him and go further alone. The warlord, seeing the boy's abilities, is shocked, because there are only 5 people weaker than him in central China. Guan rushes after him in pursuit, because he wants to see Buddha's miracle with his own eyes. The old man is shocked by the monk's skills at such a young age. The young abbot is outrageously strong. Yiji intends to show the miracle, sits in the lotus position and pronounces these cherished words for Guan. Namo Amitabha Buddha. Yiji summoned Buddha with his prayer. The old man is glad that he finally saw the miracle of Buddha. Guan cried with happiness. From this day he intends to become a monk and never again have dealings with the Red World. The young man is shocked by the words spoken by the guest. The military commander begs the abbot to accept him as a Shaolin disciple. The monk says that Guan is too old, and now, when the miracle of Buddha has become reality, he should leave. Yiji wanted from the very beginning to let him into Shaolin, but he will not value much what came easily. The old man asks not to look at his age, for his martial arts have already reached great perfection in the Hotian area. Looking at the situation in Shaolin, he thinks the temple needs a teacher. The abbot takes this as an insult and says that he is capable of teaching. Guan praises the boy's kung fu, but he believes that a person of such status should not teach some youngsters. The candidate says that his son is a minister, so if anyone from the government disturbs the temple, he will deal with it. The young man tells the master to be careful with his words, but in fact, that was his plan all along, to gain connections. Yiji understands that this man is invaluable to Shaolin at the moment, for he has experience, martial arts skills, and no problems with loyalty. The monk says that Guan is not destined for the Buddha. Since the young man does not want to accept him, the old man decides to take out a knife. The abbot uses his lion's roar and asks Guan about his intentions. The old man, trembling, assures that he did not mean to show disrespect to the Shaolin abbot. The master is about to bring the knife right to his throat, and Jia calls him and tries to stop him, but Guan only cuts off the beard. The young man is puzzled by what is happening. The old man thinks that he has already shown his true desire when he knelt at the mountain gates, so he is sincere in his intentions. The young man does not understand what is wrong with this soldier. The abbot says there is no need to suffer, and since Guan is sincere, he will accept him as his disciple. The old man considers himself clever for his way of persuading the monk. Breakfast in the temple begins with a prayer to Buddha. Yiji introduces their new senior brother to everyone. The monks greet Yi Chen. The junior brother assures that he will study diligently under the newcomer. Guan intends to teach them everything he knows himself. Although he joined the temple later than Hui Zhen and Hui Min, none of them received the title of first master from the abbot. Su Cheng is extremely talented in martial arts, and Guan Shan as a super expert, will definitely surpass Yi Jin over time. After this, all his senior disciples will be able to teach newcomers, and thus they will build a training system. Fei Hong suddenly interrupted their meal and called the abbot of the temple. Putting down his chopsticks, Yiji asked what happened. The boy reports that something terrible happened in the Fawang temple. The miracle of Buddha also appeared in it. Since the miracle appeared in the Shaolin temple, followers of Buddhism from the vicinity of Mount Shaoxi have constantly come to see the miracle. And later the temple began to recruit lay disciples, which raised people's enthusiasm. The prosperity of Shaolin inevitably led to the decline of the Fawang temple, so it was quite expected that in Fawang they created the so-called miracle, ready to compete with their Shaolin. Guan considers this nonsense, since he saw the miracles of Shaolin with his own eyes, and it was the first time in his life. Fei Hong says it must be fake. He reports that they are going to hold a fair at the temple on the 8th of July in honor of the false miracle. On the way here, the young man noticed that some people had already started talking about it, and the recently recruited lay people would also have wrong thoughts if not for those mountain gates descending from Buddha. The old man says that he was in the Fawang temple in search of the nature of Buddha, but only spent money, and if it were not a Buddhist temple, he would have demolished it. Guan asks the abbot to give the order to burn the temple to the ground, and he will watch those who dare to come to Shaolin to take revenge. And Jia asks the monk not to be reckless. He already understood his intentions. The young man says that Buddha blessed Shaolin, and he knows that their miracles are false. But this is a good opportunity for them. The abbot is ready to compete with the Fawang temple. Su Xiang is cleaning up the fallen leaves on the territory of Shaolin. The old man brings the abbot a letter from the monk Fawang. The young man received a letter from Lu Kong, the abbot of the Fawang temple. At 5 years old, he could recite the entire Heart Sutra. At 9, he was initiated into San and became an official disciple of the temple. This man devoted his entire life to Buddhism, and he considers it disrespectful to think that a miracle of Buddha has come to the Shaolin temple. Yiji was thinking about what to do with Fawang, but now they appeared first, and he will not spare them. Guan asks the abbot why Lu Kong wrote such a letter, and the young man says it is just a provocation. The old man read the letter, got angry, and clenched it in his hand. He believes that the abbot will do them a favor if he goes there, so the monk intends to burn their temple. The abbot tells his recruit that he has a plan for him. The young man began to tell him his strategy. Guan listened and said he would do everything perfectly to make their opening ceremony wonderful. 3 days later, a crowd gathered at the Fawang temple. A bystander in the crowd is curious about what is under the red cloth, and a girl says that there is a miracle of Buddha. Yiji arrives with Guan on his white horse, and the temple monk asks if they have invitations. The guy from Fawang is surprised that the abbot of the Shaolin temple is really here, but he does not understand why the invitation is crumpled. The old man urges him and is angry that the monk is delaying the guests. But suddenly the abbot, like a feather, jumps off the horse and leaps onto the column standing before them. Yijai says that this is the sacred horse of the Shaolin temple. It feeds only on the best grass, so one should be careful. The guests from Shaolin watch as the poor man is served stew in a bowl. The young man understands that this is just a way to attract people for trust. Guan says that it is hypocritical. Seeing the red cloth covering something huge, Yiji realized that this time Fawang had done a lot of work for this. The old man suggests to the abbot to go into the shade, and Kong meets Governor Lu and says that quite some time has passed since their meeting. The official smiles and greets him. Li Xuan sees the monk from Shaolin and becomes furious. The abbot of the Fawang temple asks to inform the other disciples that the opening is about to begin. The old man does not understand what is wrong with Li Xuan, and the man says that he would recognize Yi Jie even in ashes and that he is the abbot of the Shaolin temple. And Yi Kong says that they will disgrace him today, so he asks him to calm down. The best monks of the Fawang temple gathered near the curtain. Guan sees Li Ji from the Sangoku temple, whom Fawang specially invited to help him. This monk, compared to Yi Kong and Li Xuan, looks like a monk who has achieved perfection. Yi Kong says that thanks to the love of Buddha, the heavens have sent the Hall of Merits and Virtues to the Fawang temple. The temple is holding an opening ceremony to invite everyone to see this miracle. The monks say that recently there have been many rumors on Mount Shaoxi, and some small sects claim to have received the miracle of Buddha, which is truly absurd. Yiji only smiles, holding Guan, because he understands that it is about Shaolin. People from the crowd say that they saw the Shaolin miracle with their own eyes and it cannot be a fake. Li Xuan believes that these people were sent by Yi Ji from the Shaolin temple. The man considers him a liar living on credit. People are puzzled. They made the whole journey just for food. They do not understand how the Fawang temple can guarantee that their miracle is real. Xuan is boiling with rage. Guan tells the abbot that justice is in the heart. Yiji says that they cannot pretend, cannot be false, and cannot live with their sins. The crowd is loudly discussing the ceremony. Until they see a miracle with their own eyes, they cannot know the truth. Li Ji suddenly interrupts all this noise with a single cough. The young man sees that the inner strength of this old monk is very strong. The abbot of the Sangoku temple in the capital met the abbot of Shaolin. Yi Ji did not expect such a bad character in the Fawang temple. The Shaolin abbot says that Yi Ji is a revered monk, so he is ashamed that the master met with him. The onlookers in the crowd immediately recognize the great monk. They could never have imagined meeting him ever. Yi Ji says that since ancient times, heroes appear in youth. He heard that the Shaolin abbot is close to Buddha and exceptionally gifted, so the experienced monk asks the young man for advice. Yi Ji wonders what the master from the great Sangoku temple needs. Li Xuan asks his brother to be careful because this boy has a sharp tongue and is not easy to deal with. Yi Ji began to tell a story. A man came to a temple to worship Buddha and saw next to him a man worshipping the statue of the goddess of mercy. Looking closely, he saw the goddess of mercy herself. The monk asks the abbot of Shaolin why she worships herself. The young man says that it is important to seek Buddha, but one should not place their entire fate on him. First and foremost, one should rely on oneself. Yi Ji says that it is better to ask others than oneself. Yi Ji poses the next riddle. A warrior holding a live fish in his hand asks the abbot whether the fish is alive or dead. Guan knows this riddle. If the answer was that it was dead, the samurai would release it. If the answer was that it was alive, the samurai would secretly squeeze it to death, regardless of the answer being wrong. The young man says that the fish was dead. Li Xuan immediately smiles slyly and claims that Yi Ji answered incorrectly. The Shaolin abbot is restrained. He guessed incorrectly, but the fish survived and it was worth it. The man says that there is no need to be clever, and Yi Ji firmly orders him to be silent. Yi Ji extends his hand and asks Li Xuan if he has a stone in his hand. The monk claims that he cannot know if he has not seen it. The young man asks him, unclenching his fist, "That which has not been seen does not exist?" And Yi Ji suggests discussing these questions with the abbot of Shaolin later. And now it is time to begin the opening ceremony. The monks of the Fawang temple tear off the red cloth from the Buddha's miracle, and Kong assures that in this hall of the great hero lies the true body of Buddha, and all of this came to their temple a month ago. and Ji believes that he could not have acquired such a building without hundreds of thousands of taels. The thickness of this door is 1 foot, and no one can push it without divine power, and Guan says that this door costs several tens of taels. Kong was set up, and he almost blurted out. The old man asks to prepare incense, because as soon as the gates open, people will be able to enter. A commotion began in the crowd, and everyone wanted to see what was inside. But suddenly the spectators turned pale from what they saw. Li Xuan and Yi Ji were also shocked. The abbot of Fawang Temple does not understand why the people panicked so much. However, turning around, he saw before him a huge snake opening its jaws to attack. Not having time to do anything, the old man began to bleed. Yi Ji blames himself for what happened. Li Xuan asks his brother where he went. The monk says that from today he will close the door of death and repent before Buddha. Yi Ji, sobbing, regrets all his unfulfilled plans. Li Xuan begins to accuse Yi Ji and his Shaolin sect. The young man asks the elder not to speak nonsense, since it was Buddha himself who sent the punishment. Yi Ji says, frightening the man with a lion's roar, that if the statues of Buddha are destroyed, then these miracles are false and used to deceive people. The abbot turns around and considers his coming here a mistake, and that he should immediately return to Shaolin to repent to Buddha. The crowd began to applaud and see off the young monk. The events move to another temple. A mysterious man sits with a sinister look and a fan in his hand. Li Xuan reports to his master, stating that the story about the fake Buddha has spread throughout the county. The stranger does not understand why the Fawang Temple still wants to fight after its collapse. The monk suggests giving all the temple's income for 5 years just to get rid of Shaolin. After the failed ceremony, there were no more incense bearers in the Fawang Temple. Su Tian, leaving the market, said goodbye to the old woman, and she said that next time she would give better cabbage for the abbot. And Kong announced the dissolution of the temple, then disappeared without a trace, after which the monks had to find a new refuge. Only Li Xuan with 5 warrior monks swore to take revenge on Shaolin. The disciple Yi Ji suddenly felt the presence of a big man behind him and immediately froze. The man is already rejoicing in their victory. However, Su Tian skillfully jumps aside. The big man confidently tells the boy that he is a good fighter, but he feels sorry for him. Su Tian became serious and intends to defend the interests of his abbot. The warrior strikes to the ground and claims that he will not only insult Yi Ji but also beat the boy. A Shaolin disciple kicks the offender right in the face with a jump. He began to bleed and lose his balance. A mysterious man from that temple stops the fighter and asks Su Tian if it is polite to fight on the street. The boy immediately felt all the power emanating from the stranger and realized that he had no chance to resist. Su Tian lies on a broken table, beaten and coughing up blood. The old man throws a sheet of paper, orders the boy to survive and deliver it to the Shaolin abbot. Onlookers immediately rushed in and came to the aid of the Shaolin disciple. The guy was already taken to the temple, and after treating the wounds he rested calmly. Guan barely restrains his anger to avoid losing control and asks Yi Ji only for an order. The young man says that Chen Ding was always smart, but this time he dared to attack his disciple right on the street. Yi Ji holds a military letter in his hand. On the first day of August, Chen Ding will hold the Dongfeng Ring to challenge Shaolin. The old man does not understand how he even dares to write such a thing. The young man heard that Chen had become close to Li Xuan and apparently promised something. Guan considers them despicable rats. The old man asks to enlighten the abbot about his plans. He suggests avoiding problems by calling himself a Buddhist sect. The monk understands that he has the opportunity to avoid the tournament, but that is not what he wants. His high goals in martial arts meant that sooner or later Shaolin would enter Jianghu anyway. The guy considers this tournament an excellent opportunity for his disciples, while the old man is still waiting for a response from his abbot. After the opening ceremony of the Dharma King's temple, he painted the first half of the Kung Fu dragon and elephant Prajna, and together with his Kung Fu techniques, he became strong like a mid-back heaven martial master. And Yi Ji says that with an expert like Guan as his secret weapon, Shaolin will never lose. The abbot says that if he does not go for it, many people will feel offended. The old man says that nothing in this world can be hidden from the abbot. The letter says that Chen and Li Xuan are going to hold a 5-match duel in Dengfeng County. The young man does not understand how Chen dares to negotiate with him on such terms and underestimates him too much. Yi Ji writes a reply letter. To fight in the ring, the stakes must be equal. Otherwise, no one will play with him. The old man expected nothing less from the temple abbot. Shaolin not only did not slow down, but also challenged Chen Ding. The abbot says that Chen has been in Dengfeng for many years. He must have a lot of money, plus the warrior's name. As for Shaolin, Yi Ji intends to make a profit. The old man tells the abbot that he has stained his face. People in the district began discussing the upcoming event. They hope for Shaolin's victory, for he is blessed by Buddha. The Iron Bull approaches passers-by to find out where the best restaurant is here. The girls are frightened by him, for they have never seen such a big guy before. The lady is surprised that he needs to go to a restaurant, for he was made to scare people. In Dengfeng County, there is a restaurant Chian Kai Lai. The white chicken and beef in soy sauce there are the best, and the aged floral wine Diao is the most delicious of the wines. The man does not understand why the waiter is standing and not going to the kitchen. The young man says that the Iron Bull's place is reserved. The warrior says that there is no problem with that, and he will arrange it. The restaurant worker says that this gentleman is not ordinary. He is the son of the richest man in Dengfeng, Liu Million, Liu Yunhei. The waiter hears that Duke Liu is already here. The father sent his son to study martial arts at the Songshan school, but he did not learn them very well. Yet he made many fox friends and wanders all day causing trouble in Dengfeng County. Xiaoer greets Yunhei and says that he had to travel a long way. The young man gives him money and asks to do everything as usual. The restaurant owner asks the young master to eat a little later. Yunhei slaps him and threatens to wreck his entire shop. Zhao is sorry, but their place is already taken. The guys do not understand what is going on. The spoiled son does not understand who could have dared to take his place. Iron Bull asks the upstart what the matter is. Yunhei wonders where this savage came from and why he does not give way to Master Liu. The big guy asks the young man whom he called a savage. He jumps up and says he hates being called that. The man intends to try out his new weapon. The guys immediately prepare their blades. The girl is about to jump on him from behind. However, the Iron Bull is so strong that he holds back the onslaught of the boy's swords with one hand, while holding the girl with the other hand. The big guy throws her against the wall. The guys got scared for their sister because the wall started crumbling from the impact. The old man sits with Yijie and says that Chending deliberately used his connections to invite a wide circle of great people to Dengfeng County to help in the fight. Guan says that this man is Yue Shan, one of the masters invited by Chen. It is said that once he wanted to become a monk, but since his fighting spirit was too strong, he was not accepted into the temple, so he took an iron chainmail and called himself the Walker. Yunhei comes up from behind and is about to strike with his sword. After the battle, he hangs out the window, and his girlfriend is also lying by the wall. The Iron Bull lies bloodied and unconscious. The young man stands by his body and is about to finish off the enemy. But suddenly a small stone hits him right in the leg. The young man is confused and does not understand what happened. When he turned around to look at the attacker, he saw Abbot Shaolin in front of him. The monk says that Buddha does not allow bloodshed. He has already seen enough and will not allow further battles. The warrior says that the Iron Bull wounded one of his sect and must die. And Jaya declares that today this must stop. And if the young man still has the strength to fight, then let him go against the poor monk. Abbot Shaolin throws the Iron Bull onto his horse. Chunhei's friend broke out in a cold sweat from fear, because the monk was able to lift the barbarian so easily, who weighs no less than 200 pounds. The people around tell him that this is the Abbot of Shaolin and a divine person. They advise him to listen to the master and let go of his hatred. The bull tells Shan Yue that his life Yan is over and calls him to come with him. The unknown man orders him not to resist. But suddenly it turns out to be a dream and the thug wakes up. Yui does not understand why his face hurts so much. Yiji greets him and says that this is the Shaolin Temple, and he is its abbot. Iron Bull immediately becomes inspired and remembers his savior. The monk says that he did not save him. The strong man does not understand what the young man means. The abbot assures that Yue saved himself, and if it were not for his persistence, even if the poor monk had come, it would have been too late to save him. Iron Bull falls to his knees and expresses his desire to become a monk and henceforth serve Shaolin. Yiji shows his strength and says that this is nonsense. Yui is surprised by his inner strength. The monk is glad about his desire, but he thinks that his guest is not sincere and will quickly get tired of it. The abbot says that the strong man must leave so that there are no new troubles. Iron Bull is sincere in his desire. He has visited many temples, but everywhere he is rejected. The 1st of August has come. A crowd of people gathered to watch the fight between Shaolin Temple and Fawang. With the approval of the Dongfeng district government, Shaolin Temple and Fawang Temple will sign a life and death agreement. The losing side will leave Mount Shaoshi. There will be a total of 5 fights, and the prize will go to the one who wins 3. The first match will take place between Li Xuan and the Iron Bull from the Shaolin Temple. There are no restrictions in the duel, and the drummer starts the fight. People know the master Iron Bull Tai Niu, who can break a boulder as tall as a human with one strike. Li Xuan calls One Ring fake, a Buddhist scoundrel, and today he intends to finish him. Yiji gives instructions to his fighter and warns him about the power of the inner palm. Tinio was born with divine power and has a good education in martial arts. Even without inner strength, he is very strong. The Iron Bull has about a 70% chance of victory. Li Xuan begins skillfully dodging Tai Niu's strikes. Yijit is surprised that the monk is able to dodge such chaotic blows. The guy thinks that Li definitely has some tricks in his arsenal, but if his guess is correct, they will have little effect on the Iron Bull. The monk of the Fawang Temple must find a way to put an end to the current situation and escape the barrage of attacks. Li Shen decides to immediately apply the internal palm force. The man applied the iron sand palm. Blood appears on Tianyu's shoulder. The monk, smirking slyly, thinks that in Shaolin there are only pathetic little men. For Mrs. Plan, he concealed his strength, but he can no longer do so. Suddenly, Tianyu takes out his secret weapon. He strikes Li Xuan directly with iron spikes. The iron bull swings again and intends to kill the monk. The disciple of the Fawang Temple, holding his shoulder, trembles with fear. Yi Ji shouts to his subordinate and orders him not to kill the monk. The warrior deliberately misses on the abbot's command and leaves a huge dent in the arena. Li Shen sees that they really intended to kill him. The first match is declared finished and the Shaolin Temple has won. Shaolin lives up to people's expectations and Tai is really strong. The monk praises his fighter and asks him to go treat the wound. Tai does not understand why he was not allowed to just kill him. Li Xuan still cannot recover from the shock after what happened. The host says that the second group of opponents will be determined by lot. In the second match, Chen Ding and Yi Jin will fight. The man does not remember Yi Jin being very strong. The old man does not quite understand the abbot's choice. Although Chen Ding is not very strong, he is still at the middle stage, but Yi Jin can rise higher. The Shaolin abbot believes in the young man. After arriving in this world, Yi Ji taught the young man everything, and apparently his fighting energy is 50% stronger, and he will be able to withstand Chen Ding. Suddenly the guy notices that the iron bull has moved away somewhere. He approached the carriage with the red curtain, and behind him was Ning Wanjun, and Yi Jie realized that this little girl wanted to test him, but she was still too young. The assistant asks Miss if the abbot has seen them, and she replies that he simply doesn't care. The lady is surprised that in this world there is a person she cannot charm. Ning orders Tai Neo to return back and stay in Shaolin. She says that from now on he will be himself and will no longer have anything to do with them or his past life. When the girl returns, she will tell the abbot that after today's victory of the temple, she will personally go to Shaolin and ask to resolve her problems. The girl does not understand how the lady knows that they can win. Ning says that everything depends on the will of Yijie, and if he wants, he will definitely win. Kung Fu practice increased Yi Jing's strength, and he became a master of the art Fu Hu Fist. With empty hands, he could easily fight against Chen Ding's iron fan, and his fists and strikes were flawless. Chen noticed the monk's strength, and if he continues to act in the same spirit, he will lose, so he cannot fight him at close range. The man uses hidden weapons and unleashes a barrage of needles. Yi Jin is simple-minded and naive, but this is also his weakness, as he can be caught off guard by hidden weapons. The spectators were surprised by such a turn of events. Yi Jin grabbed his face in pain. Chen Ding praises the monk and says he is quite good, as he had to use this level of strength, but alas, today Shaolin's monk is doomed to fail. The old man suggests that the abbot accept defeat and save their comrade's life. The opponent intends to finish off the young man with the final blow. After that, a huge column of dust forms in the arena. Yi Jin says that Chen will go first. The monk hits him right in the stomach so hard that the opponent writhes in pain. The young man runs to finish off Chen. Chen Ding does not understand how his attack failed. Yi Jin says that Master Yi Jie taught him the iron head technique. The monk tells Chen that if he loses, he has nothing more to say. But suddenly an unknown person throws a sword into the arena. This old man turns out to be the Sword of Broken Water. Chai Xiang. They admit defeat, and the young master must be lenient. This time the Shaolin Temple won. Uncle says that the situation now is such that further fighting will change nothing. Chai Xiang says that it is all because the nephew was too greedy, and this was a lesson he received by breaking his fate. Fans ask when the Shaolin Temple will again accept lay disciples. Yijie realizes that after today, Shaolin will become the only Buddhist temple on Mount Shaoxi. This victory in the Dengfeng tournament will undoubtedly raise its reputation. The abbot thanks for the support, and tomorrow he will lead the Shaolin monk's ceremony. Yiji sits on a bench in the temple's backyard in the evening. The young man notices Ning and wonders why she decided to visit his temple again. The girl says that thanks to the monk's guidance, she has gotten much better. But there is still something else she would like to ask the abbot's advice about, besides the question about her father. The monk asks her to speak directly right away. Nin says that 30 years ago, the divine monk of the Jianhu world sat on Mount Shaomuro and left behind a relic. It attracted the attention of many people because it possessed magical properties, but after long searches, all of them returned empty-handed. The lady continues. One day her father found a small poem that told about some martial arts masters. The girl read it to the monk and became interested in whether he could observe the harmony. And Yijie says that he thought about the poem and is ready to give the result. Nin asks him to tell it. The young man combined the first word of the first stanza, the second word of the second stanza, and so on. They can be combined into one sentence which sounds like high on Mount Shaomu, and then the last line of the poem needs to be added. Nin says that the abbot is so talented that now she feels ashamed of herself. The abbot understood why she left Tian Niu. The lady justifies herself and says that the Iron Ox knew nothing about the relic, but the Tiger Da Huang really used him to find the treasure. Now the young man understands why he saw him sleeping in the forest several times. And Yiji asks the girl why this relic is so important to her. In her youth, Nin was betrothed to the son of a martial arts clan. Several years ago, he was dying from cold poison, and relied on the clan elders who gave him internal energy to sustain life. The girl did not want to marry him, so she approached to talk, hoping for a breakup. But the young man said that it was not for her to decide, since they had been engaged since childhood. Nin does not understand why she cannot leave the marriage, since she does not like the young man. The guy calmly replies that marriage is a matter for the parents and matchmakers, so there is no concept of like or dislike here. The lady declares that she will never marry him, and will ask her father to annul the engagement. The groom calls her naive, since her father's position in the sect is already under threat, and without the support of their sect, he would have been removed by those who doubted him. In tears, Nin shouts that she does not like him, so she does not understand why she should marry him. The son of the martial arts clan offers her to break off the engagement if she finds a cure for the cold poison. If not, she will immediately marry him. The girl says exactly that, so the relic from Mount Shaoshi is her last hope. The young man strokes her head and advises not to place all hopes on this relic, since there is no medicine for the cold poison. Ichi understands that if the relic really exists, it is in the hands of a mysterious person deep in the mountain, but the monk is not sure if he can defeat him. The abbot comforts her and states that nothing is impossible. It's just that someone has not yet found the right path. The lady says that the abbot is indeed the highest monk, and she hopes for his help. The guy doesn't understand how this job fell on him. Yiji says that since she is destined to be with the son of the martial arts clan, she will have to go through a lot to break their marriage. The monk hopes that she understood his intention to receive a reward. Ning plans to stay at the inn at the foot of the mountain to come to the temple every day, offer incense, and wait for news from the abbot. The guy fell into a trance, realizing her stupidity. The girl asks the monk if he is okay. The events move to the Zhongyue sect. The temple followers tell the abbot that they cannot allow the Shaolin temple to continue like this, and at this rate, in less than 2 months, they will have hundreds of people. They also heard that the new monks have some skills, and at this rate, they will have to give up the name of Mount Shaoshi to others. Ao Miao knows, but Shaolin is no longer what it was after the Dingfeng ring. The man is not sure he can defeat Yue Shang alone. The teacher sends these guys to the central China branch of the sacred sect, and asks them to join forces to destroy Shaolin. The monks are surprised, because this is a devilish religion. The abbot says that demon cults are also human, as long as they eradicate Shaolin and pay them. The man thinks that no one will find out that they did it. The junior monk suggests that Shaolin should first be invited to the Heavenly Path Alliance, and if they agree, they will not be rivals. The abbot says that they are both sects of Mount Shaoshi, and if Shaolin joins the Taoist Alliance, it will definitely attract the attention of the Alliance Master, and then their days will become even worse. They cannot do the same as before. They must do what Ao Miao commands. On the back mountain of the Shaolin temple, Yijie watches the tiger and wonders where it is going. But suddenly someone unknown drives the tiger away and shouts. Yiji intended only to follow the tiger, but he did not expect to actually find refuge with a mysterious person deep in the mountain. A wave of qi, emitted by his internal power, was able to lift the tiger to a height of more than 200 feet. At the abbot stage, he could have delivered the same strike, but it would have been weak. The monk thinks why not go and find out what it is and look for information about the relic. Yiji feels a mysterious fragrance in the cave. At first he thinks it is flowers, but after sensing it, the young man recognized the scent of medicine. The cave and the mysterious man looked dangerous, but as the old saying goes, you can't catch a tiger cub without entering the tiger's den. The guy barely squeezes through a narrow crack in the cave, and Yijie does not know what kind of medicine this man is preparing, but the rich aroma definitely does not resemble that of an ordinary potion. The young man does not understand why this mysterious man is chained by this strange chain to a huge potion furnace. Perhaps he offended the former Shaolin abbot and was imprisoned. Suddenly, the old man sharply turns and casts a glance toward the guy. Yi Ji's immediately hides behind a hill. He understands that within this cave, the old man can reach any place he wants. The abbot, returning to the temple the next day, shows Guang a elixir. It is the small pill of the southern Shaolin's return. The old man says that in the south there is a very famous temple, also called Shaolin. Their main income is related to pharmaceuticals. They sell medicines and charge for medical services if they encounter rich people, or provide free medical services if they encounter poor people. This temple has a good reputation in the region and never participates in Jianghu affairs. This temple has 3 very famous medicines, one of which is the golden medicine for external injuries. The second is extremely famous in the martial arts world. It is Xiao Hui Dan, which has a red color and a bright aroma. People in the jungles often have to pay a high price to get a small rejuvenating pill. The last and most valuable is the Great Returning Elixir. It is said that as long as a person still breathes, the Great Returning Pill can bring him back to life and is a treasure of the southern Shaolin temple. Yi did not expect that the old man's pills would be so miraculous, and there were no less than 100 jars and wooden boxes in the cave. Two people approaching the temple discuss self-improvement and self-maintenance. They consider it just a way to deceive themselves and others. Guan tells the abbot that he should first get rid of these people. Yi says that he will go and meet them, and the old man should mind his own business. The young man greets them and asks the master what he is talking about. The nun understands who this young man is. The monk declares that he is the abbot of this temple. The guest says that Yi is only a few years older than his disciple, and the latter finds the Shaolin abbot very attractive. Yi is confused by the stranger's words. The woman wants to ask the abbot if he knows what the other side means. The young man answers, the world of bliss. She says that the shore is a kind of longing, aspiration, a kingdom, and only by achieving righteousness and understanding the true meaning of Buddhism. The abbot asks if the teacher has finished, who still wants to get hit in the face. The young man calls Su Qian. He calls him one of the best disciples, who has been in Shaolin for only a few months, and was little acquainted with Buddhism in his time. The master says that the abbot behaves unreasonably, for he knows nothing about Buddhism. Therefore he uses the child as a shield. Su Qian says that Yi taught them that achieving righteousness and perfection of virtue leads to the state of nirvana, which is the other shore. The monk says that his disciple not long ago begged for food, as he was poor and had a disobedient character. The guest is angry because the abbot called a beggar to humiliate him. His disciple understands that it is all over because his master is very angry. The teacher asks Yi if Shaolin is really a place where martial arts are studied. The young man says that their temple has not existed for long, but recently Shaolin won a tournament in Dengfang, which is clear proof. The monk says that the gentleman spoke loudly, so he is ashamed. The traveler mocks the abbot and his conversations with Buddha. The woman asks Lin Yi to hand over his sword. The poor nun of the Ime school Jue Min asks the abbot for advice. This sword is called Broken Sky. It has followed him for several decades and has met many opponents throughout Jianghu. Yi is surprised that this turned out to be one of the 3 most famous swords in the world, and it seems this person's skills are above Yixuan's. The abbot realistically assesses his strength. He understands what he has cultivated in Kung Fu, but in the end he is a simple man of flesh and blood, and if the youth is not careful, his life will end if he encounters such a powerful weapon. The monk says that this is a Buddhist sect and it is not suitable for practicing martial arts. The guest thinks that the abbot was scared and the so-called miracles are just lies. The youth understands that if he refuses, people will think that Shaolin is afraid of Ime, so he suggests going to another place. The woman intends to see what tricks Yi can pull off. The monk quickly began to move away from the temple. The follower of Ime says that this little monk is very skilled in techniques. She asks her disciple to wait, and Lin Yi does not know what to do. The girl considers her master arrogant, since she relies on the fact that Ime is a major school in the Jianghu region. Lin hopes that this time her mentor will not be too humiliated, otherwise she will get angry again. The youth understands that this old monk is too strong, and he fears that all Shaolin fighting skills will be needed to win. But that would be bad publicity for the temple. The only way to make her fight the mysterious old man is to drag her into battle. And regardless of the outcome of the duel, everything will benefit Shaolin. And Yi understands that she has not yet caught up with him, which means there is still time to prepare everything. Now he needs to find a way to make the old man want to fight her. The old man notices his presence and thinks that the master Abbot sent him here to deliver a message. The young man says that he came here specifically to ask for help. The prisoner laughs, since he was locked in this cave, and now they are asking for help. Yi says that he is unaware of past grievances, but he has a way to break this iron chain. Thanks to the divine weapon, the Heavenly Destroyer, it will be possible to break the shackles, and if the old man helps the young man, he will use the sword. The nun runs into the cave and wants to cut Abbot. Yi, barely dodging the attacks, tells the elder that now is the best time to help him. The woman says that this trick is very mean. She claims that whatever plan the old man has, it will not work. The mysterious inhabitant of the cave says that it is not bad, but not even close to his former self. The man attacks the nun from behind with a chain and knocks out the sword. The old man immediately set his eyes on the sword that destroys the heavens. But at the same moment, Yi catches the weapon in midair. The guy thanks the elder for the help. The prisoner intends to stop the monk with his dark palm of chi. The follower of Ame does not understand to what level the martial art of this old man has reached and how it can be so terrifying. The mysterious old man is angry because the little monk did not keep his word, so he intends to kill him. The monk says he intends to destroy Shaolin because Yi not only wounded him, but also deprived Duan Tian of his sword. The old man from the cave uses his palm and orders the uninvited guests to leave. The head of the MA gang says that if he dies, the gang will never forgive him. Yi says that he does not want to kill him, and that he himself is seeking suffering, and there is nothing he can do about it. The young man cuts the cliff with the help of his new sword. The enemy, falling down, shouts that he will definitely return. The abbot says that life and death are in the hands of life. Wealth and nobility are determined by God, so he wishes good luck. He does not care whether this person dies or not. For him, the main thing is that the Duan Tian sword is now in his hands, and he will have the capital to make a deal with the mysterious man deep in the mountain. Yi tells his senior comrade that Shaolin will soon open for dinner, and if he is late, there will be no food left. A cry and a burst of energy come from the cave. The old man intends to kill the monk. The boy notices a little nun sitting under a tree and does not understand why she has not left. Lin does not understand why her master's sword ended up in the hands of a stranger. The abbot asks her to guess why the sword ended up with him. Realizing that the teacher was killed, the girl began to cry like crazy. Yi says that she misunderstood everything and that he did not kill her master. The girl cannot believe it, because even an average Xiantian cannot kill her teacher. But this time she was killed by a boy. The young man grabs the nun by the hand and repeats again that he did not kill her master. The abbot understands that the old man's palm was too strong and injured Juemin, and her master will not be able to recover for another 3 or 5 months. And Yi says that her master came down from the other side of the hill. The nun is shocked, because there is a cliff on the other side of the hill, which means her teacher was thrown off the cliff. The girl falls to her knees and mourns her master again. The boy hides behind a tree and says that he has no morals and it is not worth trying to pity him. Lin just wants to ask where her master fell on the mountain to retrieve his body. Since he became abbot, he has never been so confused. The young man is rich in knowledge but can do nothing with the crying girl. Yi understands that his inaction will ruin his reputation, soul, and character. The boy asks her to calm down, because he will not tell where Juemin crashed. Having heard the whole story, the girl realized that her master did not die. The nun is going to stay here and wait for the return of her mentor. The young man says that it is too inconvenient for such a young girl to stay in the Shaolin temple, so he asks her to hurry back to Mount Ma. Lin replies that he does not know the route, and since he pushed her teacher off the cliff, he vouches for her. Yi gets angry and says that if he had known it would turn out this way, he would have pushed her off the cliff too. Fortunately, Ning Wanjun, who was waiting for news, stopped near the temple and was able to look after the young nun. However, not everything is so rosy. In broad daylight, a spy infiltrated the temple. Yue Shan beats all the nonsense out of him and orders him to tell everything. Yi asks his subordinate to stop the beatings for a while. The spy wants to start telling. The spy calls Yi a bald donkey and reproaches him for daring to go against their clan on Zhongyue. Yue Shan cannot stand it and strikes the scoundrel with full force. The abbot realized that the subordinate hit too hard and killed the spy. But the monk considers it a trifle, since these are just Laotian priests who found out that Shaolin is developing too well. The young man orders Yue to throw the body into the Zhongyue clan's backyard to warn them. Yi says that their temple does not call for violations of the law, but neither does it avoid them. The guy thinks that his plot is similar to a manhwa about a man fighting monsters to level up. Suddenly the monk realizes that someone was nearby, and he did not notice it. The girl from the forest asks him to help her, and Yi asks if she is injured. The lady asks to come closer and help her because she twisted her ankle. Abbot realizes that the beauty of this woman is not inferior to the beauty of Ning Wanjun. But without the heavenly aura or the sweet innocence of Lin, she also feels like a fox spirit. Yi asks the stranger if there is anyone who came with her. The girl says she has no one, and her legs hurt very much. The young man approaches her closer, and suddenly says that she smells very bad. The girl does not understand what Abbot is talking about. The monk says that her beauty cannot shake his faith in Buddha, and he just wanted to see what she had up her sleeve. The stranger is stunned how she could be called ugly and also stinky. Yi says that the face comes from the heart. She agrees with what he says majestically, but she does not know why the monk does not turn around. The young man replies that he does not want to see dirty things. The abbot sees that Mo Lan's legs have improved, and therefore she will be able to descend the mountain without outside help. The monk calls the eagle to him and asks to find out who this girl belongs to and why she is using charms on him. Yi admits that he is handsome, but he understands that not to the extent that beautiful girls cling to him by themselves. They ask the lady how the mission went. She answers that they took the enemy too lightly. The guy thinks that he should go to the corner and eavesdrop, but this will damage his status as the Shaolin abbot. Suddenly, the guy realized that this was the very hotel where Ning stayed. If Yi were charmed today and then taken to the hotel, something extremely unpleasant would have happened to him, and the abbot would become a laughingstock, not a Buddhist monk. The Shaolin temple would go bankrupt, and the disciples would leave it. People whom the monk had ever offended came to take revenge. And if by some miracle he manages to survive their mockery, at best he will end his life begging alms from passers-by. Yiji understands that this demoness is so cunning that she was ready to deceive even a poor monk. He intends to settle the matter with the old man in the cave to deal with those who wanted to frame him. The girl asks the maid if she looks good, and the maid replies that there is no one more beautiful than her and Qiyu in the entire Tianhai pavilion. If that is really so, then she does not understand why she failed to seduce the monk. They tell the sister not to worry because that foolish monk cannot even tell corn kernels from gold. The girl does not understand how the Shaolin abbot can be so close to Lady Wangjun and whether she is really better than her. The assistant says that Ning is only pretending to be beautiful. She thinks that Yi Jie only likes her image, which is why he is kind to her. The girl replies that today they underestimated the opponent and next time they need to use 5 or 6 levels of power. She reminds that Zhu Heng wants them to take care of Yi Jie as soon as possible. If they fail, he will send the manager to deal with the matter. The demoness throws down the towel and asks to tell Zhu Heng that although he is the mentor of the demon sect, he has no right to manage the affairs of the Tianhai pavilion. The girl says that if he dares to send someone to deal with Yi Ji, he should not be surprised if she does not give him a proper reception. Mo Lan tells Ning that she is here to prove her beauty and show Murong Kuyu that she is not the best in Tianhai. Yi Ji meets Ning in the Shaolin temple and talks about the host's game, a card game whose essence is to ask each other questions. The assistant wonders if monks are allowed to play gambling games. The abbot says that this is not a gambling game at all, since he is a decent monk. Strangers hear this story and say that Yi Jie insults the sacred place of Buddha by flirting with the benefactor instead of practicing. Yi Ji does not understand who these gentlemen are and where they came from. Questioning the monks, Yi Ji realizes that something connects the master with the old man in the cave. The stranger replies that there is no need to worry and he himself can take care of him. For a month he will live on the back slope of the mountain, and then he will leave. But during this time no one is allowed to go there, and if the abbot disagrees, the man will get rid of him. Using qi, they demonstrate their strength to each other. The monk understands that he is still not strong enough to fight such an opponent. The young man tells Min Shin that he is senior to him in rank, and can do whatever he wants, and that he has no right to contradict him. But there are no houses on the back slope and they will have to build a hut themselves. The guest's companion calls Yi Jie a self-satisfied fool and tells him to know his place. He tells his teacher that this boy does not respect his elders at all, and Min Shin says that his anger will not interfere with their plan. They should wait for the right time, and then they will meet with the abbot of northern Shaolin again. The guys set up camp right at the entrance to the cave. Yi Ji realizes that this cave is full of elixirs and possibly rare relics. Therefore, the young man cannot allow 2 monks with ill intentions to do whatever they please on his territory. But since they stayed, he has a chance to catch them off guard. The abbot flies on an eagle right to their camp. Seeing the disciple Min Xuan, he feels malice, but understands that he should deal with him later. Min tells Du Laozi that he has prepared a corrosive potion. Yi Jie landed on the nearest branch. Now he at least knows the name of this old man. The man says that if the potion is applied to an iron chain, it will become brittle, and with Laozi's strength the chain will easily break. But suddenly the old man from the cave declares that he knows Min Shin's intent. He thinks that the monk wants to take all his elixirs for himself, and if not, then he does not understand why his disciple is not with him. Min Shin felt a weight lifted from his shoulders, as he was afraid he had been found out. The man repeats once again that all his disciples are already dead. Only one poor monk remains. He is the only one who can release Laozi, but if it is not needed, he will simply leave. The old man holding the chain agrees, as he is already fed up with sitting here. As soon as he gets out of this cave, the monk can take whatever he wishes. Min Shin asks if he can take the throat with the great elixir. The guest suggests using a drop of the corrosive potion, and if it works, then they are even. Laozi pours just a drop, and it immediately reacts. The old man is surprised and asks to be given all the potion. The monk's plan worked. He throws his entire vial. Yi Ji realizes that he could not have given all his potion just like that without mentioning the elixir he had just begged for. The young man understands that this is not accidental, since Laozi is well versed in medicines, but it seems that this potion is made very skillfully, as he did not notice the difference. Suddenly, cries come from the cave. The old man realized that it was poison and he was deceived. Laozi calls Min Xuan heartless. The monk says that this potion looks exactly like a corrosive one. But thanks to some ingredients, he added the poison so that there were no changes in either smell or color. The old man does not understand why they decided to poison him, since he agreed to give all the medicines. Min says that 30 years ago, during the battle on Mount Shaoxi, by mistake Laozi's mentor Kong Yin died. His body remained here, as well as the ancient relic of Shariputra. Laozi, recalling that battle, immediately began to cry, and the monk continued to accuse him. The master locked him in this cave, saying that he would allow him to prepare elixirs and pills, but in fact he wanted Laozi to forever remember what he had done. The old man looks sadly at the relic in his hands. Laozi agrees with Min, but it was his mistake, yet everything is not so simple. The monk says that now he is no longer worried about it. He intends not only to take the medicines, but also to bring the relic back to southern Shaolin, and with its help, he will be able to lure disciples to his side and take the position of abbot. Isekai'D now realizes his entire plan. Laozi intends to burn the relic in the furnace rather than give it to someone like Min. The Shaolin abbot hears cries coming from the cave. The old man strikes him and calls his old acquaintance a fool, for such a valuable relic is not so easy to destroy. Min says not to be so complacent, for Laozi is greatly weakened and can only use a third of his strength. The monk coughs up blood, for the old man also skillfully uses poisons. The scoundrel gets angry and unleashes all his power, and Yijie realizes that the time has come and it is time to act. The young man draws his divine sword and intends to protect Laozi, for he will still need him. Min uses an energy sphere, but the youth is not foolish enough to engage him in direct combat, and with poison in his body, he clearly won't last long. Min Sin is finally defeated and, exhausted, falls to the ground near the old man. Yijie, smiling, tells Laozi that a few days ago he did not dare to come to his aid. He hopes the master understands his concerns. The old man says he would have done the same in his place, for releasing some stranger from the cave without knowing who he is and why he is bound. Laozi says that in the end it is all in vain, and the decrepit old man, who will soon turn 100, should take life and death more lightly. Yijie suggests to the master to go out and look at the moon. The old man says that 30 years ago Kong Yin died trying to save him, after which Kong Fan imprisoned him here so that he could atone for his sin. But it is impossible, and it would have been better if Fan had just killed him rather than left him to live in solitude. Laozi thanks the Shaolin abbot for the entertainment, and therefore allows him to take the Shariputra relic and any medicines from this cave. But suddenly Yijie swings the divine sword and wants to say something to the old man. However, Laozi is still alive and looks at his broken chain and cannot believe it. The young man officially declares that Du Laozi is free and has fulfilled his duty. The master, coming out of the cave, was immensely happy, for after 30 years he finally saw the Milky Way, and now he is not afraid to die. Min Sin is dead and now he needs to get rid of Yi Yin, otherwise it is unknown what he might do. Yijie tells Laozi that everything that happened today will remain only between them and this starry sky. Now he is curious about what the old man will do. The sage understands that all his friends are dead, as are his relatives, and he also does not know what has become of Jianghu. The abbot suggests he go to Jianghu and see for himself, but he refuses and says that it is too dangerous a place, and he is too old to fight and no longer has the old zeal. Yijie then suggests in that case to become a monk. The old man finds the young man interesting. He is no longer capable of anything, and he does not want to train anyone anymore. The monk says that they still do not have a cleaner and suggests Laozi try. The young man suggests looking at the temple, although they have only recently begun restoring it. Everyone is working tirelessly and is very determined and optimistic, and the residents are happy with the changes. Laozi, seeing the pagoda in the temple, dreams of climbing it. The guy asks the master to come and inspect his room. The old man sits on the cold tiles in the temple courtyard and says he does not need a room. The young man says that everyone experiences ups and downs in life, so he asks if Laozi regrets anything. The master replies that the only thing he regrets is the death of Kong Yin, and he does not care about his enemies. In Jianghu, everyone is for themselves, so he cannot hate them, and now all he wants is to live out his days in the Shaolin temple. Yijie hopes that Laozi will stay, as that would solve all his problems. Of course, he will not bother the old man over trifles, but if something serious happens, he will have to intervene. From now on, he is simply the nameless elder monk of the Shaolin temple. Now that he has become part of this temple, he would like to pass this relic to the young man. The scene shifts to another part of rainy Jianghu. A tortured guy is doing his best to carry and not drop the girl on his back. Armed horsemen are apparently looking for them. They intend to find the guys no matter what it costs. It seems this girl is a princess, as her companion addresses her by status, telling her that they are already in Denfen, and the city of Lu is very close. The lady tells Yueinu that she will soon leave this world, and he must deliver a message to Chang'an. The guy asks her not to worry. Since the rain washed away the tracks, they won't be able to catch them. The princess says that she is very tired and wants to sleep. Yueinu asks her to hold on and says he will try to find a place where they can rest. But the exhausted young people simply fall to the ground from fatigue. The eagle Yijie has been watching them all this time. Suddenly the bodyguard jumps up, not understanding where he is. The Shaolin disciple who helped Yue is glad that he finally woke up, as he had been unconscious all night and all day. Holding his head, the young man accompanying the princess asks where he is. However, before regaining consciousness, Yue hears the ladies scream. The guy rushes out into the rain on the street despite his wounds. The girl in the room asks not to be approached, but she is told that everything will be fine. Yu bursts inside with a sword and shouts at Yi to take his hands off her. Guan cannot tolerate this upstart and knocks the sword out of his hands. Yue Ying could not have thought that a Buddhist monk, who swore to protect all living things and chose a secular life, would decide to join the rebels. Yi does not understand what it all means. He saved the young man and assigned someone to take care of him, and the first thing he does is attack his savior. The princess's bodyguard does not understand what is happening at all. The girl orders Abbot in the name of Princess Datana to execute Guanshan Yue. The old man says that even the emperor's daughter does not have such power. He saw her only once when she married his son, so he does not understand why she wishes death upon the poor monk. The princess asks him not to pretend as if he knows nothing. Yi is shocked by this turn of events. His subordinate turns out to be the father-in-law of the emperor's daughter. In that case, the girl asks to be heard because 10 days ago something terrible happened. The lady came as usual to bring tea to her husband, but suddenly overheard his conversation. They were planning to kill Zhao Yuanji at the Dengfeng border. Then the assassin would flee to Shanidun and finish off the governor-general. Brother Feng tells Guang Yu that he will not only be able to control 2 provinces, but with the emperor's support, he can control the entire realm. The man calls his wife foolish because she will die without even realizing that she is merely a stepping stone to his throne. She immediately began to sob upon hearing this. On the same day, Yue Ying gathered more than a dozen guards and under the pretext of evening prayer took the lady away. Out of more than 10 guards, only he remained after the chase. The old man immediately boiled with anger upon hearing what his son had done. The princess was stunned to see her father-in-law like that. Shan Yu says that Tan Chao intends to sow chaos and plunge the common people into war, so he can no longer consider this ignoble man his son. He asks to be allowed to finish off this scoundrel himself and restore peace. Yi says that he definitely has personal guards, and since he dared to organize the murder of his wife and start a rebellion, he will not hesitate to take the murder of his father upon his conscience. The monks ask the boys what they will do now. Yue realizes that Tian Chao has probably blocked all roads to the capital, so another way is needed to get to Chang'an and inform the emperor about the rebellion. The abbot believes that Guang Yu should escort the princess to the capital and personally appear before the emperor. This will show the seriousness of his intentions and help avoid punishment. The young man understands that all this is clearly not for the good. For the common people, Yi Chen is ready to go against his own son. But if he does not return to Shaolin within a month, the boy will go in search of him. Morning has come. Some eccentric near the Shaolin temple praises it and asks to look at the guys on the road leading to the temple. The young master is reminded that they must search the temple to find out if Yue Ying is hiding there. The youth defends the abbot of the temple, for he is an enlightened man who can communicate with Buddha, so he is fine. His subordinate reminds him of the governor-general's order and wants to finish early. The Shaolin devotee agrees on only one condition. Everyone must treat the abbot of this temple with respect. The boy hears the Shaolin bell, whose ringing cleanses his soul. His assistant thinks their master is a fool and believes they should see a doctor to check if he even has a brain. Yisit notices Lai and asks how he is doing. Li Yuntian's 3rd son squeals like a girl and greets the abbot of the temple. His retinue is angry because the youth is embarrassing them all. They do not understand what this monk has done to deserve such treatment. Half a month ago, Yuntian and Lady Huang were going to the Shaolin temple to ask Buddha to bless their marriage when suddenly they saw a pillar of golden light. That day they saw a miracle with their own eyes. They were astonished and imagined the monk to be a miracle worker. The majestic sound of the bell penetrated to the very heart, and Yuntian felt as if he had ascended to the heavens and heard the voice of Buddha himself. Yiji asks the young man why he came to the temple, but seeing his facial expression, he considered him a fool. Yuntian says that the head of the alliance asked him to deliver an invitation to participate in the martial arts demonstration in Zhongzhou. The abbot does not understand why they decided to invite them, but refusing is definitely not an option. He suggests that due to the recent activity of demonic sects, the Heavenly Path Alliance wants to form alliances with new martial arts sects to oppose them. Yiji understands that chaos will soon begin, and he does not know if they will be able to withstand such difficult times, so he must increase his own strength and that of everyone in Shaolin. The abbot says that in that case, he asks Mr. Li to inform Master Hua that on October 1st, the poor monk will definitely arrive at the martial arts tournament. The young man wants to meet the monk at the Songshan school, and no one will dare to touch him while Li is nearby. Li is taken away by his subordinates, and as the young man leaves, he asks the master to say his name for registration. In honor of the Chrysanthemum Festival this month, it was possible to spin the roulette twice. The abbot won the construction of the Arhat Hall and the teaching of divine Kung Fu. Yiji's disciples ask him what kind of building this is. The temple abbot asks them to follow him. The Iron Bull boasts and says that he looks like a dragon tamer. Tai Neo does not lag behind and says that he looks like a tiger lord. The monk recalls that all the items and buildings he won in the system have an additional effect, so he is curious about the effect of the Arhat Hall. When he entered here, he felt a surge of internal energy. The young man realized that the Arhat Hall doubles the results of training. If his students train here, they will be able to reach a new level by the martial arts demonstration. And Yijie announces that from now on, all their training will take place here. The Arhat Hall will not only fill them with energy, but also help relax the mind and body. The young man hands Yijin a book and says that he needs it for training by the day of the martial arts exhibition. The abbot states that they must study and train the fighting techniques of the Shaolin Temple to present them at the show in October. And if they have any questions, they should turn to the nameless monk. The monk is glad that Shaolin is united in its aspiration to become the best martial arts school. Isekai'D is a white horse and whistles, but suddenly his walk is interrupted by a loud crowd, and he becomes curious about what is happening there. The young man sees Molan standing in the middle of the crowd. He does not understand why she was attacked in broad daylight. The girl lunges with a sword and intends to kill them all. The bandit says that such an elegant beauty does not need to hold a sword. Molan says that scoundrels from Fusang are not even close to the heroes of Dotun. The guy does not understand which heroes she is talking about, since he has not seen a single one yet. Molan cannot stand it and kicks him right between the legs. The second bandit calls her a whore and lunges with a sword. But then Yijie appears, who grabs the blade with bare hands. The villain realizes that this unknown monk is very strong. The Shaolin abbot does not understand who allowed them to act arbitrarily in Dayton. The bandit grabs the second sword with the intention to kill the abbot. The girl screams in fear and worries about the abbot, but Yijie sends the offender flying with just a flick. All passers-by admire the strength of the Shaolin abbot. Molan is stunned by the demonstration of such power. The girl says that she is grateful to the monk for saving her life. Yijie understands that although she tried to frame him, he cannot pass by a lady in distress. Molan realizes that the bastards from Fasang will return to take revenge, so they need to come up with some plan to catch them off guard. The abbot says that if they decide to return, they will meet the brick, and if they run away, the brick will fly after them. The lady is glad that the brick was not thrown at her. Xiao Cui calls the abbot funny, since you don't often hear such phrases from a Buddhist monk. Ning asks her to be quiet or she will be left without a snack. Yijie says that it is time for him to go and asks her to be careful. Molan does not like that Ning is acting all mysterious again, and the abbot is falling for it like a child. The abbot greets the lady, who says that the abbot heroically saves the beauty, and wonders how many maiden hearts he has conquered today. The young man says that he is just a poor monk, and Buddha obliges him to protect and help people. Suddenly Yijie declares that he came to date and to meet her. The girl does not understand what he means. The monk says that he found that relic. A tear appeared in Ning's eye upon hearing this. The abbot says that this Shariputra relic is the greatest treasure, and if the girl's fiancé wishes to be healed, he must come to Shaolin. Yijie says that no thanks are necessary, for the lady herself fought for her happiness and well-being. The girl asks the abbot not to worry. She will definitely bring her fiancé to the temple. The crowd is chasing someone. They say that everyone is afraid to fight the Fusang warriors. Yijie was riding a horse on this beautiful day, and they started shouting here. The guys attack the monk in revenge for their comrade. The abbot considers them reckless, but he will be able to test divine kung fu on them. Divine kung fu is just a deceptive maneuver, but it has several stages. The second is the will of the goddess of flowers. Yijie walks among the group of beaten Fusang warriors. In the residence of the general governor, a soldier reports to Tianzhao. They have gathered 1,000 of the best riders to patrol the borders, but the eagle literally carried the girl in the sky. The princess flew in the eagle's claws while the soldiers tried to shoot it down. Then they set off in pursuit, but the eagle flew too fast. Guan kicks his subordinate with his foot and calls him a useless idiot. Advisors stand over the young man, but his head is already boiling because he expected to lose to a great warrior, not some bird. Hua Wuji says that a martial arts tournament will soon take place and they will be able to secure the support of masters. Tianzhou leaves it to the old man. He is interested in how things are going with Shaolin, since his father became a monk there. Shanmu says that a monk from Shaolin recently attacked his people, and he was just about to take revenge on him. Hua asks not to worry, because in a couple of days this monk will come to them himself, and then they can take revenge. Tianzhou says that when they capture this province, they will be able to do whatever they want. Yijie asks the nun, from whom he took the teacher, how she is doing. The girl replies that she is a little bored after Ning Yi Xiaocui left. The abbot in that case suggests she change her place of residence and find a friend. The young man sees through the system that Juiming has returned and also invited local heroes. He intends to eavesdrop on their plan. The nun suspects that the abbot wants her to leave, but he says that is not so and he will take her to a girl. The girl understood that he is talking about that little shepherdess with a dog. The abbot thinks that such simple-hearted girls will easily get along together. The guy tells them to take a walk and get to know each other better for now, and he has to return to Shaolin. Min thanks the famous heroes Sima and Zhugong for coming to her aid. Zhugong says that as a Buddhist nun, she should understand that in such matters one must not rush. Sima says that they are here not only to help her, but heavy times will soon begin in Zhongzhou, so they will have a chance to prove themselves. Min agrees that their affairs are certainly more important. But the monk stole not only her sword, but also her disciple. The partners began laughing, holding their stomachs, while the old woman does not understand what could have made them laugh. The mercenaries say that this Shaolin monk not only robbed her, but also managed to wound her, which means he is not so simple. Sima says that first they plan to establish power in the Zhongyue sect, and only after that will they go to conquer Shaolin. The nun intends to help them destroy the sect, but they must also promise to fulfill her request. And Jie, looking through the eagle eye, realized that they are going to capture the Zhongyue sect, but he will not allow this to happen. Zhugong and the others quietly subdued the guards, which means they will be able to infiltrate and decapitate the sect. Yiji with his disciples all this time followed them. The young man understands that they plan to remove the leader, but they cannot allow this. The abbot orders his subordinates to check the rear pavilion, but Tianyu says they see nothing. The monk says their target is right on the roof. Tianyu orders to set fire, and Yue Shan must wake all the monks and lead them to the fire. Min realized they were spotted. She asks Sima and Jiagong to kill Ao Miao, and she will deal with this screamer. She attacks Yue with her sword. Yi Ji uses the first level of the city-destroying strike. The nun's attack is deflected and she fails. The nun does not understand where such a strong man came from in this wilderness. Ao is puzzled who these two are and calls his disciples for help. Chaos begins in the sect. Some go to help the leader, and some go to extinguish the fire. Sima does not understand why Min still has not finished off the enemy. The leader puts on a robe and orders the others to catch the cutthroats. Yiji and the others want to see how it all ends, as they played a significant role in this battle. The nun tells her partners that she can no longer hold back the onslaught of the sect's disciples. Sima tells Jiagong to stop fooling around and show what they are capable of. Suddenly, Jiagong uses Uyan's frog technique, which greatly shocks Yi Jie. The opponents do not understand what is happening, but the Shaolin abbot sees that Jiagong has reached the level of Xiantian in this technique. Ao calls Jiagong a bastard because he is mocking his disciples, so he proposes to fight him. Exuding a green aura, the troublemaker finds it interesting. The man says that he will fight until the very end. Sima directs his chi into his sword and asks to be allowed to have some fun too. He uses the technique of 10,000 swords. Yiji realizes that with such strong opponents, the sect cannot handle it on their own. Ao is on the edge, as Jiagong and Sima decided to combine their moves and attacked the leader immediately with both slime and swords. But suddenly Abbot Shaolin bursts in, and with the help of the Iron Head technique throws the villains aside. The guys do not understand who he is and where he came from. Min realized that this was the man who had wounded her. She attacks him and intends to take his life. His subordinates immediately stand up for him, but the young man assures them that he can handle everything himself. Min hits him right on the head and breaks her sword. And Yiji twists her wrist and tells her that she is the head of the Buddhist sect, so he does not understand her behavior. Abbot Shaolin throws her into a pillar with all his might, as she is an insult to Buddhism. Spitting blood, Min does not understand at all who this young man is. Yiji answers her that she does not deserve to know this. The nun grabs the sword from the ground and calls him a conceited brat. Meanwhile, Jiagong and Sima were actively fighting against the sect members. One of the disciples realizes that these bandits are very strong, and if this continues, they will be able to destroy the sect. The fat man throws a stone at Jiagong, but he easily deflects it and calls him a fool. This brick flies straight to Min's head, and Yijie does not understand where this brick came from. He says that even the heavens themselves cannot bear her. Ao sees that Jiagong destroyed the main hall with a single blow. He is horrified by this frog technique. Sima says it's time to retreat and that there is no point in continuing the battle, but his comrade understands that these old men will not let them leave so easily. Jiagong does not listen and says that first he wants to deal with them. After this attack, the guys decided to leave for good. The guys leave behind a smoke cloud for cover. Using his martial art, Yiji disperses the smoke screen. Ao immediately recognizes the lion's roar. The Shaolin abbot says that since the master recognized him, he no longer sees any reason to hide. After the scuffle, Tai Niu gathers the bodies of the sect members. Yu at this time is setting a bone for someone, and the man is screaming in pain and asking for help. The sect leader thanks Yiji, because despite past grievances he came to their aid. Ao says that if there is something in Zhongyue worthy of a reward for a monk, he will be glad to give it. The abbot thinks that in the master's eyes, he looks like a mercantile person. The monk says that he ended up here completely by accident, because these bandits were planning a raid on the sect, but since the leader has such a biased attitude towards Shaolin, he is leaving. The master tells the abbot that he simply misunderstood him. It's just that the sect has suffered great losses now, so he has no ideas how to thank the young man. E.G. says that monks live by the teachings of Buddha and expect nothing in return, and Buddhists and Taoists strive for the same goal. Ao agrees with the words of the Buddhist and says that he was blind. The leader of Zhongyue wants to ask the master for something. 9 days later, on the way to the martial arts tournament, the heroes from Shaolin sing a song along the way. E.G. likes this song because it conveys the character of Shaolin, unites and raises fighting spirit, so he intends to make it the temple song. The young man becomes interested in what is written in the letters that Yi Kong gave him. The abbot notices that there is quite a bit of text there, and he hopes that there is nothing serious. He is written to by a nun who met with her abbess. The teacher said that she wants to seclude herself and devote all her efforts to spiritual development, and she can stay in Shaolin because she likes living with Sister Ru. The monk is glad that he managed to persuade the nun to say goodbye to her student. Further in the letter, Guan hastens to report that the princess was delivered to the capital safe and sound. Without his help, she would not have been able to bypass the guards. All of Zhongyue's property burned to ashes, and they have no way to restore everything. But fortunately, Shaolin bought these lands, and the person whom Yi Jie asked to find has already begun restoration. Taking the opportunity, the old man wants to ask when the new book will be released. Ao Miao turned out to be a rather smart person. Assessing all the destruction sensibly, he sold the sect's lands at a very cheap price. Shaolin's territory is expanding, and it is necessary to think about recruiting new students. Ichi asks Yi Kong to send one letter back to the temple. Yi Kong says that Ao Miao handed over the box. He considered it something important, so he decided to catch up with the abbot and bring it as soon as possible. After reading the letter attached to it, Yi Jie got angry and thought that this old man wanted to play charades with him. Suddenly, the monk turns back and hears something approaching. Some man with red hair lying on a horse is rushing like crazy. The horse jumped right over the crowd. All members of the Yi Jie squad prepared for battle. Passers-by were just walking by with branches and did not understand what was happening at all. The man says that he left early in the morning and still is not first, but the monk was riding a horse, and he was on a donkey, and even so he managed to overtake those two idiots. Yi Jie says that although the road is wide, he walks on the shoulder, looking at people whose hearts are like a dense forest to him. And although it is not always convenient to walk in a large company, it is in any case better than traveling alone. The traveler asks the monk to say something. He considers him like Buddha in the flesh. He tells him that there is not a single hair on his head. This hits the abbot at his most sensitive spot. The monk is offended because this one-eyed man does not seem to be a pirate to wear an eye patch, and he mocked him in a couple of sentences. Ichi tices him and closes his left eye. The traveler calls the monk a bastard for deciding to mock him. With the help of his power, he influences the mind of the horse of Abbot Shaolin. The man always thought that the monks were out of touch with life, but today his opinion changed, and Yi Jie realized that this old man was not so simple. There are many strong people in Jianghu, so he should be more careful. The guys arrived at the martial arts exhibition. The temple abbot asks them to be careful and avoid fights. The men sitting at the table discuss the attack of the demon sect commanders on the Tianyahai pavilion. The monk thinks, could it be that the person they met on the way is Zhou Qin? The second traveler says that he himself saw the one-eyed tiger and the multicolored phoenix Luo Kai. The abbot, hearing their conversation, began to understand what Ao Miao wrote about. In the first line, if you combine certain letters, you get Chenke. Chenke is Ao's real name, which means this phrase means Chenke has returned home. The letters from the second sentence form Hua Wuzi, and then it talks about some beggars. But the cold winter wind. It seems that if anyone wants to attack it, it will definitely not happen during the tournament. And the soldiers are clearly unusual guards. They emit some strange aura. Yi guesses that this tournament is a trap, so he does not want to put his guards in danger. The new monk says to follow him. He wants to come up with something so they can leave first. The abbot grabs Yi Qin by the scruff and orders him to follow him. Yi feels that something is wrong here and thinks their squad might be ambushed. Yi asks to be quiet and just listen to him. The abbot of the temple only now realizes what is wrong with this tournament. Yi Qin must take the abbot's place and take everyone back to Shaolin. The disciple believes that if some danger has appeared, they should face it together. The abbot says that there are already few disciples in the Shaolin temple, so their safety is above all. Yi Qin is almost crying because he is very worried about the abbot. Yi Jie asks not to worry. If things go badly, he can easily leave using his powers. Otherwise, he will constantly worry about his disciples. The monk asks him to leave and bring back all the disciples safe and sound. Yi Qin, sobbing, says they will wait for their abbot in the temple. Yi Jie remains alone with his faithful horse. In expensive attire, the monk arrives at the Sangshan sect. With the help of his all-seeing eye, The monk notices that the Alliance soldiers attacked an important person in Jianghu. The abbot finds it strange that these people are looking at him. He suspects they are spies of the Heavenly Path Alliance. His robe is too flashy, so the young man thinks they are staring at him because of it. But such robes are always worn on holidays and serve their purpose. While they are distracted by Yi Jie, Yi Qin and the others can quietly leave. The abbot sees many beggars here and thinks that Zhongzhou has lured the poor to its side. And since the two main forces of Zhongzhou have united, other sects simply have no chance against them. The abbot of the Shaolin temple is invited to his place. They provided him with an excellent spot, and if any scuffle starts, he will simply jump over the wall. Suddenly, the head of the alliance appears before the public, the abbot of the Songshan sect, known to all as the blade whirling in the snow, Hua Wuji. Yijai thinks that Wuji looks very imposing. An icy aura emanates from him, and one should clearly not expect anything good from such a person. The head of the alliance begins his speech, saying that recently there have been rumors that a war is about to break out in Zhongzhou and the imperial army will destroy them. But in reality, these are dirty rumors from the demonic sect. And the monk thinks about his own matters. The princess has already returned to the capital, so he does not understand why the emperor has not yet sent troops to Zhongzhou. In that case, the head of the alliance intends to register all sects willing to join them, and all who refuse will be considered their enemies. And Yi Jie understands how brainwashed they are. Hua presented the confrontation between Jianghu and the capital as a struggle between good and evil sects. The man jumps down from above and asks the Shaolin abbot from Mount Xiaomu if he agrees to join the alliance of the Way of Heaven. The young man thanks Hua Wuzi for such an offer. He did not think their small temple would be noticed. He heard that Master Hua is a master of martial arts, also possesses high moral qualities, and is one of the strongest warriors, so no one dares to disobey his order. The head of the alliance is confident that Buddha approves of killing demons, as it is a good deed not only for people but also for the heavens. He thinks the monk only wants to buy time. Yiji says that Hua misunderstood him, but if he needs an answer as soon as possible, he will ask Buddha right now. The spectators laugh at him, and someone says that Wuzi is scared. The great warrior says that if that is the will of the Shaolin abbot, then let him show them a show. But suddenly, an unnamed soldier appears at the performance. He says that the head of the alliance managed to intimidate people, but the man is not afraid of him. The old man easily and effortlessly dodges the stranger's attacks. For Yi Jie, this is the chance to escape, as Hua Wuzi is too strong for him. The head of the Sky Path Alliance strikes the swordsman right in the stomach, causing him to start coughing up blood. The stranger says that Hua is not bad and he will return to take revenge. The old man, smiling slyly, replies that he has placed archers outside, so anyone who dares to leave will die. The crowd praises their leader. Someone attacks Hua Wuzi sneakily. Zhou Qin says that the old man decided to chat before dying and calls him a clown. The man calls everyone idiots and suggests they look at their own faces. Everyone present understood that this was the one-eyed tiger, but they consider Hua the strongest master in the whole world. The opposing armies clashed in a duel. Two soldiers stand aside and think that the others will manage without them, when suddenly a silhouette appears behind them. It turns out to be Yi Jie, and he breaks right through them. A soldier of the demon army tells the bald head to stop. The fleeing monk did not notice what he ran into. It turns out this is a girl in white clothing and members of the Sky Path Alliance want to kill her. But this girl turns out to be unusual and easily repels their attack. She does not understand who dared to hit her, so she kills everyone indiscriminately, and Yi Jie tries to escape. Hua tells Qingyu that he is a scoundrel who ruined his plan. The old man intends to sacrifice him in honor of the start of the tournament. Zhou Qin calls him overconfident and attacks with his two-handed sword. The head of the alliance calls the one-eyed tiger his weakling. The demon says that if the head of the alliance wants him to fight seriously, it will be beyond his strength. Hua asks Zheng and Sima to help him. Zhukin tells Luo Saiyi to take them on, since he needs to catch his breath. The girl says that everything is on her. The guys are surprised by her speed and tell Hua that they have problems. And Yi Jie recognizes them, because they destroyed the Zhongyue sect. The monk does not understand whether they joined the alliance or if the attack on Zhongyue was an order from the Path of Heaven from the very beginning. The young man realizes that the tournament will no longer start and it is time for him to leave. Suddenly some girl calls him. She asks him what he forgot here, since he is neither from the Path of Heaven alliance nor from the demon sect. The abbot says that he was just passing by. He is curious about what she is doing here. The girl says that she is watching her father fight that one-eyed man. Yiji asks her if she is really the daughter of Hua Wuzi. She lunges at the monk and says that now she knows who will kill him. The monk tells her to reconsider and lower the sword. The girl attacks with claws and says that she will take his life. She begins to scratch his precious robe. Yiji is no longer going to tolerate this. The monk uses the first level of martial arts, Fallen Flowers. The daughter of the alliance leader does not understand what kind of technique this is. Using the red petals technique, he envelops her. The little girl, covered in wounds, falls to the ground. Yi did not think she would lose consciousness, since he used not the strongest technique. But suddenly Hua Wuxi's daughter attacks him with claws. The monk, smiling, asks why so weak. The girl breaks her nails on his iron head. The abbot uses Tongzigong, pure qi energy. She is surprised where a simple monk masters yang energy. Tongzigong, pure yang, divine kung fu, is also needed to study the 9 yang divine kung fu. But suddenly Hua Wuji's daughter found a person with pure yang energy, and Yi Jie does not understand why she cares about his yang energy. She says she has been suffering from this illness for more than 10 years, and he must save her. The abbot gets angry and says he is a monk, not a doctor. The young man tells her to go to a hospital or a healer, but the girl insists that only pure yang energy can save her. Xiao Huan falls to her knees and begs him to save her, as she will die within 3 years. Yi Ji asks her how he can help her. The first way to save her is that they need to become lovers, but she is a decent girl, so she asks not to be forced. The monk says he never intended that, and even if she asked him, the young man would not do such a thing. The second option is to use pure yang energy daily to expel the negative yin from her body, and since the abbot has already entered Jiantian, it will take no more than a month. The abbot understands that she must not know that he has not yet reached that level. Yi Ji says that he made a serious mistake in his last training, so his internal strength has weakened, and now it will take him a year or even 1.5 years to heal it. The girl says that Xiaohun can wait. She asks to be healed. Zhou Qin asks Hua if he still wants to compete with him. The alliance leader says that if he had not missed, he would not have lost to the one-eyed tiger. The old man says that Hua is to blame for this himself. The man replies to him that he has a tough temper, but not much intelligence. Hua says that one day he will return and conquer this mountain with his blood. The one-eyed tiger tells him that he should not even dare to run. But suddenly the alliance leader of the Path of Heaven disappears, and the old man is surprised, for this is demonic technique. The monk does not understand where this bloody veil came from. Zheng does not understand where Lord Hua has gone. Lua attacks him and is puzzled how her opponent dares to look around during the fight. He is wounded in the shoulder, and he says that he can no longer continue and asks Sima to go on. Sima replies to Zheng that he is a traitor. Lua shows no mercy and also attacks Sima while he is distracted. Suddenly her gaze falls on Yi Jie. There's a lot of noise from the girl Hua, so she noticed them. She remembers the bald monk and says that he groped her. Yi Ji realized he was caught. He tells the young lady that it's time for him to leave, so they will talk later. Lua approaches the fence, and the girl wonders how she will find the abbot later. The warrior woman calls the monk a pervert and orders him to stop. Hua's daughter is angry and doesn't understand who is chasing her source of pure yang. The monk tries to dodge attacks in every way. He doesn't understand at all how he could become a pervert since he did nothing. The Shaolin abbot is horrified by her attacks. Apparently she has definitely reached the middle Jiantian stage. The young man doesn't understand why she is so fast. Lua calls him a lustful scoundrel and says he won't escape from her. Yi Ji realizes that this crazy woman is too fast, and if he tries to fly away on the eagle, he will just become a living target. The monk asks to stop chasing him as he had no bad intentions. The lady noticed that he had mastered some techniques of Hutian, but that was not enough to hide from her, and sooner or later she would get to him. But suddenly Xiao Huan appears. She orders not to touch her bearer of pure yang. Lua is angry because they dared to attack her using such childish techniques. The one-eyed tiger's servant tells Hua's daughter that they are on different levels. From the force of Lua's strike, the girl bounces from one tree to another, breaking them with her body. Suddenly Yi Ji Runding reaches the edge of a cliff and realizes that even the heavens themselves want to kill him. The lady says that she has finally caught up with him. She attacks him and does not understand why the monk no longer runs away. The guy closes himself with his robe and does not think that he can do it any other way. Yi Jai tells the lady that her sword is useless against him, so he suggests she calm down and talk, but she does not understand how her ki can have no effect on this pervert. Lua is not going to have a dialogue with him, and says that if she cannot wound him, she will simply throw him off the cliff. The abbot screams and pretends to be very scared. The lady says that this happens to everyone who tries to grope her. The monk says that she has not a drop of sympathy, and Yi Jie uses the iron head technique and breaks the cliff. The girl's mask flies off and she falls straight down. The Shaolin abbot calls for help from his golden eagle, but the monk cannot grab on because of the girl's attack. Lua calls him a pervert and tells him not to even think about saving her. She immediately understood what he was planning. Yi Ji does not understand where her hatred for him comes from. The monk realizes that he is falling too fast and has nothing to hold on to. He needs to somehow reduce his speed. The guy takes his robe and spreads it out, imitating a parachute. The young man thinks he succeeded, but the girl falls right on his head. Fortunately, the abbot of Shaolin landed on his head, otherwise he would really have had to meet Buddha. Lua is lying on the ground and crying in pain, and Yiji says that it seems this is their punishment for what happened, so he suggests ending the fight. Suddenly, the one-eyed tiger's servant starts spitting blood. The girl says that if Yiji had not destroyed the rock, she would not have fallen. The guy is stunned, because she just spat blood, but still wants to argue with him. The monk says that his heart cannot bear the fact that a young, beautiful girl will die here alone in the middle of the mountains. Yiji says that he follows the teachings of Buddha, and knows well the value of life, so he gives her a pill that will heal most of the wounds received. Lua says that let him eat it himself if he is so merciful. The monk throws a pill into his sleeve and says that the lady does not trust him, so she is so cautious. In that case, Yiji gives her all the medicine, because a calm mind and selfless kindness are the pillars of Buddhism. The Shaolin abbot says that it does not matter who lost and who won. The girl asks the monk if he is afraid that she will heal and kill him. The young man calmly sits down and says that if the lady decides to kill him, then that is his fate. Lua hears a familiar smell. Such pills are made in the southern Shaolin, and it seems they are genuine. If the monk decided to poison her, then she will take him with her to the afterlife. The guy takes his pill from his sleeve and throws it into his mouth. The girl's wounds have almost completely healed from this medicine, and her internal energy has almost fully recovered, and it seems she was not lied to. Lua decides to check him and moves closer. She offers to join them. Yiji says that he, as a monk, has renounced worldly goods, so it is not good to change religion like that. She grabs his face and says that he is lying. The girl believes that he is in collusion with the Alliance of the Way of Heaven, although he pretends to be a noble monk. Yiji says that she misunderstood him, and that he came to the martial arts tournament because he was invited, and the young man did not know about the conspiracy. Lua thinks that he could have quite possibly bumped into her by accident. The lady says that according to the majority, the killing of demons is the will of the heavens, so she does not understand why the monk did not join Huawuzi. The guy says that demons and evil spirits scare and kill people. They can also attack the followers of Buddha. Their souls harbor evil intentions, and they will never help anyone. However, the battle between the demon sect and the martial arts schools is merely a matter of human desire for power, and there are no right or wrong sides here. Lua is surprised that he really thinks so, and Yiji says that these are his true feelings. The monk says that he cannot say what he really thinks. The girl believes him this time. But if he lied to her, she will find him on the other side of the world and kill him. Abbot thinks that she has calmed down a bit, and it seems like a good sign. Yiji thinks that he needs to win her trust while she is in a good mood. Otherwise she will kill him at the first opportunity. The monk noticed his cloak hanging on a branch. It started to rain, and the young man suggests finding a cave to shelter from it. And it will be bad if it intensifies. And Lua mutters to herself that the abbot jinxed it. The girl says that she will not sit in one cave with a lustful monk. Yiji kneels down with his back to Lua, and she does not understand what he is doing. The lady shakes her head and says she can walk on her own. The monk says that not all her wounds have healed yet, and moreover, they are untreated, and if rainwater gets on them, infection may occur. The young man says that if she notices any inappropriate behavior from him, she should kill him, and doing it from behind is much easier. Yiji asks for forgiveness and mercy, since many people saw her chasing him. They will think he killed her. The recent opponents took shelter in a cave and warmed themselves by the fire. Lua got very wet and started sneezing. The monk began to take off his robe. The girl calls him a pervert and says that if he comes one step closer, she cannot vouch for herself. Yiji throws a cloak over Lua and tells her not to get sick. Lua thought differently, so she considers the abbot a good person, although in his soul the monk considers her a very attractive girl. Because of the rain, the monk cannot contact either the eagle or the horse. Suddenly the system notifies that the monthly lottery is now available, and the monk realizes that this is very timely. The girl wakes up in the morning near the extinguished fire and does not notice the monk nearby. Lua realized that her companion had left. Demonic servants call the girl by shouting. The lady orders them to stop yelling because she is here. The guys are glad that they found their comrade. Lua is cold-blooded, orders them to stop staring or she will gouge out their eyes. The lady wonders how they managed to find her. A little girl says that after the scuffle with the Alliance they were already about to leave, when suddenly they realized they had lost Lua. The search party wandered, not knowing at all where to look for the girl, when suddenly an eagle appeared and dropped a sign with her location. Lua understands that it was most likely the monk who sent them the message, but she does not understand how he himself managed to climb up the cliff. Yiji learned a new movement technique, and with it, one can even jump across rivers. But suddenly, having gained speed, the abbot steps on a toad and slips. He no longer has any internal energy left, but he thinks that now he might be able to get up. The young man grabs the reins and exhales, for he is saved. The Shaolin monk is saved by his faithful horse. Yiji cries with joy because in the most difficult moments she helps him out. The horse tells him to take his hands away, and the abbot asks him not to be shy and to embrace. The abbot exhales. He is glad that everything is over and hopes that Qin and the others have returned safely and intact. At the same time, in the bamboo forest, Zheng attacks some old man. The young man severely wounds the stranger, and the old man cannot understand where such strength comes from in such a youth. The old man decides to break the distance and gallops away. But the completely exhausted stranger falls to the ground. He cannot run any further, because his ribs are completely broken. The old man thought he would die today, when suddenly he is knocked down by the stallion Yijie. The abbot says that this old man is to blame himself because one must look around. The young man kicks him with his foot and asks if he's all right. Yijie thinks that he has killed this mister. The monk uses qi to bring this stranger to consciousness. The abbot says that he always takes responsibility for his actions, so he could not just leave. A choice appeared before him in the system, either heal the dying man or instant death. The mister is surprised to see a Shaolin monk here. He does not understand what he is doing here. Yijie does not understand how this old man could know him. He takes out his headband and ties his hair into a ponytail. The Shaolin abbot recognizes Mr. Chai, but he is not clear why he forgot on Mount Shaomu. The old man grabs his shoulder and says that this is his business, and some brat doesn't need to know about it. Yijie sees that there is someone in the forest besides them. Jagong calls Chai an old bastard because he decided to run away after a couple of hits from his frog technique. The abbot asks if the spirit of that frog will now haunt him everywhere. The warrior sees a dazzling bald spot, and it seems to him that he has seen it somewhere. Jiagong realizes that it was him and Luo Kai chased after him, and he is still alive. The young man says that this old man stole his kung fu and they must help him. Chao doesn't understand what nonsense he is talking about. Yi Ji thinks that they should turn to the authorities to resolve this matter, and he needs to go. The Shaolin abbot has just climbed this mountain and did not intend to get involved in trouble again. The old man does not understand how the monk can just leave like that. Jiagong says that this is their battle and outsiders should not be involved. Chao takes out a gold ingot. He intends to pay for the help and will give another one when the monk deals with him. Yi Ji could not even imagine that this scoundrel was so rich. Due to the recent epidemic in Zhongzhou, the amount of donations has greatly decreased, and with that they could buy food for the sick. The abbot from Shaolin hides the ingot in his sleeve and says that it's not about the money and he was just passing by. The old man shows 2 ingots and says that he will give these 2 gold ingots for the rescue. The monk tells Mr. Zheng that killing will negatively affect their karma, so he suggests forgetting it all. Zheng realizes that this bald man is not so simple, since he managed to escape from Luo Kai and is also seriously wounded. Yi Shi understands that Zheng definitely will not dare to attack him. The young man says that he is very wounded and does not want trouble. The abbot proposes to arrange a 3-move duel, and if he cannot convince to leave this gentleman alone, then the poor monk will immediately leave. Zheng does not believe him. The young man realizes that he is still one of the strongest masters, who has also reached Xiangtian. Zheng takes a fighting stance and suggests to start. The young man understands that if he applies a chokehold, the monk definitely won't be able to break free from it in 2 moves. But Yiji is not so simple. He turns around and uses a lion's roar right in the enemy's face. The old man, watching everything, does not understand what just happened. Turning to the side, Chai notices a huge crater from the monk's move. The Shaolin abbot says that he hates people who do not keep their promises, so he asks the master not to forget to fulfill his. Master Chai falls to the ground unconscious. Yiji shows mercy and, standing with a rope on his shoulder, offers to give him a ride. The young man ties the old man to the horse and drags him along. The Shaolin abbot finally arrived at his native temple. Everyone immediately ran to greet him and rejoice at his return. Yi Qin cries, and the young man orders not to get discouraged, because tomorrow he will check if they have been slacking off from training. Yi Jai asks his deputy if there were any problems during his absence. Yi Qin reports that everything is fine, but without their abbot, Shaolin seems to have lost its character. Even the nameless monk has started sweeping again. The abbot believes that Du Laoqi moves back and forth like a ghost. The monk greets the elder and says they haven't seen each other for a long time. Du Laoqi also greets him in return. Yi Ji asks his deputy what he wanted to tell him. The man mumbles something uncertainly. Yi Chen says it is related to the Alliance of the Heavenly Way, because after what happened in Songshan, it was disbanded. Now big and small martial arts schools fight for power, and without the Alliance's management, everything has gotten out of control. The sects have fallen apart, bandits run rampant, and all this affects the common people. The elder says that recently the Shaolin Temple has been donating a lot of food, but it will soon run out. If nothing is done, the day is not far when they will have to beg for alms themselves. Yi Ji says he knows about this problem. The Alliance of the Heavenly Way indeed had great influence. The abbot asks Yi Chen to gather all the disciples to discuss the future of the temple, and the monk himself says he will go rest. The elder looks confused because the abbot has dumped all the work on him but is going to sleep. Suddenly, Ning Wangjun arrives at Shaolin. The girl arrives with her fiancé, and the young gentleman is impressed by the temple.